4041. 4041. Chapter 4041. Fellow Taoist, please register. With Lin Moyu's departure, the great battle ended. The Taos returned, and everything settled back to peace. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. One Tao Lord sighed, "It's finally over." Thankfully, Lin Moyu stepped in and resolved the crisis. Someone grumbled, "Weren't those two great Tao Lords brought here by him in the first place?" Someone immediately retorted, "And who caused the origin catastrophe? In a vast world, with the hardships of cultivation, anything can happen. If you blame others for everything, you might as well live as an ordinary person for 100 years. Isn't that good enough?" Someone else said quietly, "True experts never blame their environment. If you say things like that, it just means your Tao heart isn't firm, and your life will go no further. In this world, accidents are everywhere. Even if you don't provoke others, others might come for you." Back during the origin catastrophe, the origin continent hadn't provoked anyone, and the world will only wanted to become strong enough to reach eternity. But the Black Blood Realm and Celestial Realm still came knocking. Who could the world will complain to? No matter the reason, in the end, Lin Moyu solved the problem and drove off the two great Tao Lords. That was enough. Lin Moyu's strength was once again proven. He forced two great Tao Lords to flee in disgrace, a feat beyond imagination. As for where Lin Moyu went in the end, only a few Tao Lords could guess. Long Yi, seeing the outcome, said, "Lin Moyu really did have a plan. He wanted to kill those two great Tao Lords, but in the end, he still didn't manage it." Antares said, "Those two won't live much longer. Lin Moyu won't let them go." Long Yi replied, "You really have a lot of faith in him." Antares snorted, "I watched him grow up. I know what kind of person he is." Long Yi was interested. "Tell me more." The aura of the great Tao swept over him as Lin Moyu stepped into the origin ancestral land once again. It had been several thousand years since his last visit. For the origin ancestral land, that was just the blink of an eye. Nothing had changed. As soon as he entered, Lin Moyu received some information. He now knew what he had to do, and what rules he had to follow in the origin ancestral land. These rules hadn't existed last time, because he was still weak then and posed no threat to the Taos of the ancestral land. Now it was different. If he wished, he could easily shatter a Tao, so heaven and earth had set some rules. He could fight in the origin ancestral land, just as the Candle Dragon had said, as long as he didn't damage any Tao. If he did, heaven and earth would punish him severely, so severely that even a great Tao Lord would be skinned alive if not killed. This rule was basically telling him, fighting here is asking for trouble. While telling him the rules, the world also told him what to do. He had to reach the heaven and earth battlefield within a year. The origin ancestral land would guide him, he just had to follow. For a great Tao Lord, the Taos in the origin ancestral land were now useless. There was no point in wasting time comprehending them. Lin Moyu flew up, looking down on the origin ancestral land from above. Last time, he couldn't do this, now, he could. The Taos stood like pillars, reaching from earth to sky, forming a giant divine rune. This time, Lin Moyu understood the rune's function was to suppress. Guard, seal, suppress all were contained within. What is the origin ancestral land suppressing? Lin Moyu was puzzled, but he knew he'd get the answer at the heaven and earth battlefield. The origin ancestral land pointed the way, straight to the battlefield. He was given a year, but at his speed, he could get there in 2 days. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry. He flew slowly through the ancestral land, passing by countless Taos, admiring them and studying the divine rune. He realized this rune was not man-made, but naturally formed by heaven and earth, a primordial rune with extraordinary power. All Taos were connected to this rune, without exception. The rune not only suppressed something, but also all the Taos themselves. It reminded Lin Moyu of the origin spirit veins. The rune was much like the divine continent cauldron. Without the rune's suppression, even the heaven Taos would likely run wild. There aren't many empty spots left on the rune. It looks like the Taos are almost full. Once they are, no new Taos will appear. If the number of Taos is limited, does that mean the world's capacity is limited too? How was this limit set? Was it determined at the beginning of heaven and earth? Why are some worlds stronger or weaker, and why are some worlds so much harder to transcend? Could there be even harsher worlds than this one? Thinking these thoughts, Lin Moyu passed the myriad Taos and, after 2 months, arrived at his destination. He reached the edge of the origin ancestral land, leaving all the Taos behind. Here, a massive curtain of light stood like a world barrier, stretching to the sky and dividing the ancestral land in two. Beyond the curtain is the heaven and earth battlefield. Lin Moyu's mind was clear. He didn't enter immediately, instead quietly observing. Within the curtain were countless divine runes. The origin ancestral land seemed to be intimately connected to these runes. They were everywhere, some visible, most hidden. Strictly speaking, this world was inseparable from divine runes. The runes were not a single Tao, but the foundation running through all of heaven and earth. Lin Moyu studied the curtain for a long time, memorizing its runes. Their function was strength and stability. The runes overlapped, making the curtain incredibly strong. Lin Moyu felt that even if he used his full power and the world-ending palm, he might not be able to break it. The key was that the runes were not complex, but when combined, their effect was astonishing. So, simplicity is also a path. Lin Moyu sighed, understanding a new principle and deepening his comprehension of divine runes, a worthwhile gain. Half a year had passed since he entered the origin ancestral land. Lin Moyu finally touched the curtain. A gap appeared, and a gentle suction wrapped around him, pulling him in. He passed through the curtain and experienced a brief teleportation. A vast, desolate aura greeted him. In his vision appeared a massive canyon, its metallic sheen like steel, extraordinary at a glance. The material forming the canyon was of an extremely high grade, unlike anything Lin Moyu had ever seen. He felt that unless he used the world-ending palm, he might not be able to damage it. On the canyon walls were countless claw marks and sword scars, each one carrying immense power, all at the level of a great Tao Lord. The desolate aura carried a familiar scent, and Lin Moyu unconsciously muttered, "Heavenly Tao, wild beasts." A thought flashed through his mind: could the enemies on the heaven and earth battlefield be wild beasts of the great Tao? Just then, a voice called out, "Fellow Taoist, please come register." 4042. Chapter 4042, Humiliation. A great Tao Lord stood not far away, his aura fluctuating violently, clearly having just experienced a fierce battle. He kept a certain distance from Lin Moyu, not disturbing him at first. After waiting a while, when Lin Moyu had finished his observations, he finally spoke, showing great courtesy. Lin Moyu walked over and greeted him. Lin Moyu greets fellow Taoist. The other was also human, and judging by his aura, cultivated a water-type great Tao, though it didn't seem to be an origin great Tao, likely a branch great Tao. There are countless great Taos, and any of them can lead to becoming a great Tao Lord, so this was not surprising. The other replied in kind, "I am Meng Ruahai. Greetings, Taoist Lin, please come with me for registration." Lin Moyu nodded. "Fellow Taoist Meng, may I ask, what does registration mean?" Meng Ruahai explained, "We have set up many formations here. Once registered, you can move freely in this place, otherwise, you'll face many restrictions." Lin Moyu had indeed seen many formations, but in his eyes, they weren't much. At most, they'd take some time to break. But since there was a rule for registration, he wouldn't go against it. This place had existed for countless years and had its own rules. On the way, Meng Ruahai briefly introduced the heaven and earth battlefield environment. These mountains are called Origin Mountains. They are neither metal nor iron, but a very special existence. They are extremely sturdy. No matter how hard we attack, we can only make tiny marks. And the Origin Mountains are constantly changing. Some sink, some rise, some expand outward, and some contract. The terrain shifts, rising and falling unpredictably, but all the formations you see are set according to the terrain. If the terrain changes, the formations are destroyed. Meng Ruahai saw Lin Moyu's confusion and added, "Their rate of change is very slow on the scale of 10,000 years. So we just adjust the formations as needed." Lin Moyu said, "Fellow Taoist Meng, I see these formations are not weak, but not particularly strong either. With the ability of a great Tao Lord, if someone wanted to force their way in, it wouldn't be impossible." Meng Ruahai's eyes lit up. Taoist Lin is also skilled in formations. Lin Moyu replied modestly, "Just a little, I only know the basics." Meng Ruahai chuckled, not revealing whether he believed Lin Moyu. Calmly, he said, "The main purpose of the formations isn't to kill, but to provide early warning and block enemies. For example, as soon as you entered the origin ancestral land, we knew, and we could pinpoint exactly when you arrived at the heaven and earth battlefield." Lin Moyu was a bit surprised he'd been monitored without noticing at all. "Looks like I underestimated the formation masters here." He understood now. the formation masters had used formations to bridge the heaven and earth battlefield in the origin ancestral land, using the Taos there to sense his presence. Here, the power of the great Taos was everywhere, making them the perfect channel. Lin Moyu didn't dwell on the formation issue. Who are our enemies? He had some guesses but wanted to ask anyway. Meng Ruahai said, we have two types of enemies. First are the Tao wild beasts. I'm sure you've seen them before, maybe even fought them. Lin Moyu nodded slightly. I have indeed fought them. Meng Ruahai continued, the second enemy, we call heaven and earth spirit demons. Spirit demons? Lin Moyu had never heard of them and asked, could you explain further, fellow Taoist Meng? Meng Ruahai smiled, you'll understand soon enough. Let's register first. Ahead, a tall mountain appeared. It had been invisible until they got close, then suddenly emerged. Lin Moyu could tell the entire mountain was shrouded in formations. If you were far away, it would disappear from view. At the mountain's summit stood a palace named Tao Lord Hall. Lin Moyu saw at a glance that this Tao Lord Hall was a powerful artifact. Outside the hall, many were chatting and drinking tea. These were all great Tao Lords. Though from different races, most had taken human form. A few had not, but they had shrunk their bodies to human size. Lin Moyu observed that the Tao Lord Hall sat at the core of a great formation, which coordinated all the other formations. Suddenly, Lin Moyu's eyes narrowed. He spotted two old acquaintances, the God of Light and the Lord of Darkness. They were here too. He couldn't help but smile, his eyes showing excitement. Meng Ruahai noticed Lin Moyu's reaction. Taoist Lin, what's wrong? Lin Moyu smiled, I see two old acquaintances. Meng Ruahai followed his gaze and saw the God of Light and Lord of Darkness. He was puzzled. The great Tao Lord of Light and the great Tao Lord of Darkness, how are they together? Light and darkness are opposites, their great Tao Lords shouldn't even be friends, let alone allies. Lin Moyu laughed, fellow Taoist Meng, if two enemy wild dogs run into a tiger at the same time, what do you think will happen? Meng Ruahai thought for a moment and immediately understood. You mean, they've come together because they have a common enemy? Lin Moyu smiled, it's not the best analogy, but that's about right. Unfortunately, even two wild dogs together are no match for a tiger. At that moment, the God of Light and Lord of Darkness noticed Lin Moyu. Their expressions changed dramatically, killing intent rising. Meng Ruahai now fully understood Lin Moyu was the tiger, and the great Tao Lords of Light and Darkness had joined forces because of him. But was this newly advanced great Tao Lord really that strong? He knew the God of Light and Lord of Darkness were very powerful, having been great Tao Lords for a long time. Lin Moyu spoke, you two ran pretty fast last time, but now that you're here, where do you think you can run to? The Lord of Darkness said coldly, we underestimated you before. Now, on the heaven and earth battlefield, let's fight again and see who dies first. The God of Light sneered, don't think you're so great just because you got lucky last time. It's not clear who will win. Their words drew the attention of many. Quite a few great Tao Lords who had been chatting and drinking tea turned to look. Just a few sentences, and these great Tao Lords already understood what was happening. Lin Moyu smiled, back when we first fought, I was just a Tao Lord, and I still drove you both to flee to the origin ancestral land for your lives. Now that I'm a great Tao Lord, what can you do but wait for death? Lin Moyu's words were blunt, exposing the two's humiliation for all to see. Being forced to flee to the origin ancestral land by a Tao Lord, what a disgrace for a great Tao Lord. The God of Light and Lord of Darkness looked utterly mortified, feeling like the laughingstock of everyone present. At that moment, a delighted voice called out, Taoist Lin, you're here too. 4043. 4043. Chapter 4043. The Structure of the Heaven and Earth Battlefield. The Lord of Life, radiating pure white light, stepped gracefully out of the Tao Lord Hall. She looked at Lin Moyu with a smile in her eyes. Congratulations, Taoist Lin, on becoming a great Tao Lord. Lin Moyu smiled. It's been many years, Taoist Chengxin. I hope you've been well. Meng Ruahai suddenly laughed. So Taoist Lin knows Taoist Chengxin. Then I'll trouble Taoist Chengxin to handle the registration, all right. Chengxin smiled, of course, leave the registration to me. It was clear that Chengxin had an excellent relationship with everyone here. The other great Tao Lords, whether human or from other races, all looked at Chengxin with goodwill. Lin Moyu could easily guess why. Chengxin was the Lord of Life, and when it came to healing, few could claim to be above her. This was the heaven and earth battlefield, and most great Tao Lords here would be injured at some point. Great Tao Lords aren't afraid of minor wounds, but serious injuries, especially soul injuries, are hard to recover from and can even lead to long periods of slumber. That's where Shengxin's value shone. Her life Great Tao could heal everyone. Some wounds were so strange that only the life Great Tao could treat them. Plus, Shengxin was easygoing, so over time her status among the others became irreplaceable. Lin Moyu descended, and Shengxin led him into the Tao Lord Hall for registration. At this moment, everyone looked at the God of Light and the Lord of Darkness with odd expressions. Lin Moyu was Shengxin's friend, which made him everyone's friend, while those two were his sworn enemies. That made things interesting. A great Tao Lord remarked, "If I remember right, the Lord of Darkness was seriously injured last time, and it was Taoist Shengxin who healed him with all her strength." Someone else agreed, "Yes, if not for Taoist Shengxin, he'd probably still be unconscious. This time, he's an enemy of Shengxin's friend. I wonder if she'll still help him if he gets hurt again. Who knows, she probably will. Taoist Shengxin is kind, not like some people." As everyone discussed the Lord of Darkness, his expression became wonderfully twisted. The God of Light was ignored. He'd slept so long that people had forgotten him. Here, he was just a newcomer and not very important. Even if his strength was above the average Great Tao Lord, there were still the Eternals above him, so no one had to show him any respect. The God of Light and Lord of Darkness exchanged glances. "Let's go." The two left, distancing themselves from the gossip. Inside the Tao Lord Hall, Shengxin asked, "Taoist Lin, do you have a grudge with those two?" Lin Moyu nodded. "With the God of Light, it's a blood feud. As for the Lord of Darkness, it's nothing major. When I was a Tao Lord, I forced him into the origin ancestral land, and he felt humiliated, so he's always wanted to get even." Shengxin said, "Do you need me to mediate?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "Thank you for your kindness, Taoist Shengxin, but I don't take those too seriously." Shengxin didn't insist. Since Lin Moyu said no, she believed him. Lin Moyu looked around the Tao Lord Hall. The setup was simple. Apart from a special half-person tall pillar in the center, there were just some meditation mats and a small dais, likely for lectures. Shengxin led Lin Moyu to the central pillar. "Taoist Lin, just inject your soul power into it." Lin Moyu did as instructed. As his soul power entered, the formation inside the pillar lit up. The formation recorded Lin Moyu's soul aura, and all the other formations it controlled did the same. From now on, Lin Moyu could move freely throughout the heaven and earth battlefield. As the formation recorded his soul aura, information also flowed into Lin Moyu's mind. The information detailed the heaven and earth battlefield and its enemies far more thoroughly than Meng Ruohai's earlier introduction. The heaven and earth battlefield has existed since the beginning of the world. When the world was born, countless great Taos evolved, and then the origin ancestral land appeared to contain them. But the myriad great Taos weren't pure, they had impurities and filth. These impurities were stripped away during evolution, gathered together, and ultimately became the Tao wild beasts. The Tao wild beasts' home is also in the origin ancestral land, separated from the great Taos by the world itself, and the region between them is the heaven and earth battlefield. Because the Tao wild beasts are fundamentally filthy, they instinctively crave pure great Taos and constantly try to break through and devour, absorb, and refine them. Of course, the great Taos cannot be devoured. If they were, the world would collapse, so heaven and earth command the great Tao lords to come and stop the Tao wild beasts. This is a mandate of heaven and earth and cannot be refused. As for the heaven and earth spirit demons, they are a special kind of being. No one knows their origin, but they are ancient, seemingly present since the dawn of the world. They occupy a special region, but no one knows exactly where. All that's known is that the spirit demons appear periodically and also try to invade the myriad great Taos. According to previous analyses, they seem to want to use the great Taos as a road to enter the heart of the world. What surprised Lin Moyu was that the information on the spirit demons didn't come from great Tao lords, but from the few eternal beings. The heaven and earth battlefield is divided into two parts: the outer battlefield, guarded by the great Tao lords, and the inner battlefield, guarded by the Eternals. Some great Tao lords have entered the inner battlefield and brought back information, saying it is even more dangerous and the battles are fiercer. To become a great Tao lord is to guard all of heaven and earth, maintaining the normal operation of the world. This is the duty of a great Tao lord. After reading all this, Lin Moyu sighed. This world really is far from peaceful. Shengxin asked, "Taoist Lin, what do you think of the heaven and earth battlefield?" Lin Moyu replied, "People think that the higher your cultivation, the greater your rights. That's true, but actually, the higher you go, the greater your responsibilities. There are only a few thousand great Tao lords, and just a dozen or so eternals, but we have to bear the burden of guarding the world. Outsiders just don't understand. Shengxin said, yes, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. We've thought about eradicating the Tao wild beasts and spirit demons completely, but... Lin Moyu interrupted, but it's impossible. As long as the world and the great Taos exist, so will they. They are like the shadow side of the world coexisting with it. Wanting a once and for all solution is impossible, but... Shengxin asked, but what? Lin Moyu said, but maybe there are other ways to reduce the pressure on the battlefield. His eyes flashed as he fell into deep thought, considering some possibilities. Shengxin didn't disturb him, instead standing guard and preventing anyone else from interrupting. 4044. 4044. Chapter 4044. Heaven and Earth are not perfect. Arriving at the Heaven and Earth battlefield and learning about the enemies faced by great Tao lords and eternal beings, Lin Moyu fully constructed the model of this world in his mind. The structure of this Heaven and Earth was now clear to him, and he realized it was fundamentally different from the Great Thousand World. He saw many imperfections in this world. Tao wild beasts were one such flaw. As for the Heaven and Earth spirit demons, though their origins were unclear, it seemed they too were born from the world's imperfections. There were also soul-devouring spirits, which arose from impurities in the world and constantly wandered beyond, driven by an instinct to destroy. Beyond that, there was the origin ancestral land. Though it appeared to radiate across all worlds, the Taos available to each world were never complete. There was always something lacking. From these imperfections in every world, it was clear this Heaven and Earth was itself not perfect. The land of return was the same. Why could it originally only hold 18 great Taos, then 20 after some were recognized by Heaven and Earth? When Lin Moyu's immortality great Tao descended, why could the land of return still accommodate it, even though it was supposedly at its limit? Did this mean the land of return's limit was far from reached, and that the so-called limit was just the limit set by the world's rules? Compared to his own great thousand world, this world was far more robust, with no separation between the myriad Taos and a much greater capacity for power. But compared to the world where the myriad spirits pavilion was located, this place was still superior. At least it could contain far more power, and the Taos were not isolated from each other. At this moment, Lin Moyu pondered many things, from the world's imperfections to the enemies he was about to face. Tao wild beasts were no problem. He'd killed many, and unless he encountered a Tao wild beast king, he had nothing to fear. However, those he'd fought before were all in the soul void. Tao wild beasts with physical bodies were much stronger. A Tao wild beast king was no weaker than a great Tao lord, and whenever one was injured, it was usually by a Tao wild beast king. In this battlefield, ordinary Tao wild beasts were just extras, with little real impact. As for the Heaven and Earth spirit demons, he would have to see them to know more. For now, he couldn't judge. A suspicion grew in Lin Moyu's mind. Could there be some connection between the spirit demons and the soul-devouring spirits? Of all the information, the most interesting wasn't the Tao wild beasts or the spirit demons, but the origin mountains. These strange mountains, scattered throughout the battlefield and constantly rising and falling, were incredibly tough. Even a great Tao lord using a Tao lord level artifact could only leave a mark or a tiny scratch. But if a divine rune was inscribed on them, the rune would fuse perfectly, forming a formation. Thus, the origin mountains became the best foundation for formations. I'll have to study them carefully when I get the chance, Lin Moyu muttered. Nearby, Shengxin asked, Taoist Lin, what do you want to study? Opening his eyes to see Shengxin's bright smile, Lin Moyu replied, the origin mountains. I think they're fascinating and want to research them. Shengxin said, the origin mountains are indeed interesting and excellent for setting up formations, but aside from that, they don't seem to have any other use. Almost every great Tao lord here has studied them, but no one has found another use. That was true. If he could see the uniqueness of the origin mountains, surely others had as well, and after so many years, everything worth studying had been studied. Lin Moyu asked, if you took a piece of an origin mountain to forge a weapon, what would happen? Shengxin replied, someone tried that once. They managed to break off a tiny piece, but as soon as it left the mountain, it disintegrated like dust. Lin Moyu was surprised. It actually does that? Shengxin nodded. Yes, and every time someone tries, it triggers a reaction from the origin mountain, forcing all the formations to be rebuilt. So there's an unwritten rule now. No one is allowed to mess with the origin mountains themselves. Studying is fine, but don't try to take pieces away. Lin Moyu smiled. I understand. Thank you for the reminder, Taoist Shengxin. Shengxin replied, no need to be so polite. I never properly thanked you for what you did before, Taoist Lin. Lin Moyu said, then could I trouble you, Taoist Shengxin, to show me around the heaven and earth battlefield? Of course. Shengxin was delighted, her face beaming. The two left the Tao Lord Hall, with Shengxin leading Lin Moyu elsewhere. The heaven and earth battlefield was filled with formations, large formations nested with small ones, and small ones linked to even larger ones. Many of these formations had overlapping functions, and sometimes hundreds of formations with the same function were nested together. To someone not skilled in formations, this would seem inefficient. Why use hundreds of formations when one big one would do? In most places, that would be true, but here, it made sense. The origin mountains shifted, and the terrain changed. Every time it did, formations could fail. If only one big formation was used, even a change of half a meter or a meter in a few origin mountains could cause the whole thing to fail. The bigger the formation, the harder it was to repair, and if it failed, the early warning system would be lost, putting the great Tao Lords at a disadvantage. But with this system of nested formations, even if the terrain changed a lot, only some small formations would be affected. No matter how much the terrain shifted, not all the formations would fail at once. The early warning system would remain intact, and that was enough. Plus, the formations were interconnected, so if something went wrong, the formation master would be alerted and could fix it in time. Lin Moyu and Shengxin flew slowly among the mountains as she explained, the entire heaven and earth battlefield starts from our headquarters at Tao Lord Peak and is about 50 million li deep and 10 million li wide. Most formations are concentrated in the first 3 million li, covering about 90% of the area. The remaining 10% are in the next 5 million li, but those are fewer and harder to maintain, easily destroyed by changes in the origin mountains. In the first 3 million li, about 70% of the formations are for early warning, 20% are for confusing and trapping enemies, and the last 10% are killing formations. What Lin Moyu saw matched Shengxin's explanation. The two passed through the mountains and came to a plain. A faint stench lingered there, the stench of the great Tao, undetectable to ordinary people, but powerful cultivators could sense it with their souls. The source was curses, impurities and filth of the great Tao. Lin Moyu had smelled something similar before, when facing the Lord of Curses. At that time, the Lord of Curses had spread his filth into the Black Blood realm, which gave off a similar odor. But the Black Blood realm's stench was even worse, indicating the Lord of Curses had been even more polluted then. Shengxin said, this is one of the battlefields. Not long ago, a great battle took place here, and many Tao wild beasts died, including 2 Tao wild beast kings. The curses they left behind will linger for a while. Lin Moyu asked, how strong are Tao wild beasts here? Shengxin replied, ordinary Tao wild beasts are weaker than great Tao lords. Tao wild beast kings are a bit stronger than great Tao lords and require several to work together to kill one. 4045. Chapter 4045. The World of Wild Beasts. They're much stronger than in the Soul Void. Lin Moyu compared the Tao wild beasts here to those in the Soul Void. Ordinary Tao wild beasts here were indeed a bit stronger than great Tao lords, but not by much. Usually, 4 or 5 great Tao lords could surround and kill a Tao wild beast. But according to Shengxin, Tao wild beasts here were only slightly weaker than great Tao lords, and it would take at least 100 great Tao lords to kill one. Compared to those in the Soul Void, they were much stronger. As for Tao wild beast kings, in the Soul Void, you didn't even need a great Tao lord to act. Just a few top-tier world lords, like World Lord Mu Sha, who had the support of world power, could surround and kill a Tao wild beast king. World lords like Mu Sha were not actually a match for a great Tao lord in a direct fight. But here, the Tao wild beast kings were even stronger than great Tao lords. It would take several great Tao lords to bring one down. Shengxin explained, whether a Tao wild beast has a physical body makes a huge difference in strength, and only here on the heaven and earth battlefield can they display their full power. There have been cases where Tao wild beasts entered a world, but once they leave the origin ancestral land, their strength drops dramatically. Lin Moyu said, in my world, a senior once entered a wasteland in the world's mist and encountered a Tao wild beast. I'm curious, since there are great Tao lords guarding here, why can't the Tao wild beasts escape? Shengxin corrected him, it's not that they escape, but that they're exiled. There was once a massive riot here, Tao wild beasts invaded en masse, and something happened on the inner battlefield. That battle brought more than 100 Dao wild beast kings and even a wild beast emperor. We fought desperately and almost couldn't hold out. Fortunately, Lord Candle Dragon intervened just in time, barely holding the line. The void shattered, and some Dao wild beasts were exiled by Lord Candle Dragon, leaving the origin ancestral land, and their whereabouts became unknown. One origin mountain was exiled along with them, and after leaving the heaven and earth battlefield, it probably became a continent. The senior you mentioned likely encountered those exiled beasts. Lin Moyu wasn't surprised Shangxin knew about the Candle Dragon after all. As a great Dao Lord who spent half her time in the origin ancestral land, she'd naturally know of the Candle Dragon's existence. What surprised him was that the Candle Dragon actually intervened. The Candle Dragon intervened? If he's that powerful, why do great Dao Lords still need to guard this place? With his strength, couldn't he handle it alone? Shangxin shook her head. Lord Candle Dragon is strong, but he has rules to follow. That time, he was forced to act, and after that, he slept for 10,000 years. No wonder. Lin Moyu realized the cost one intervention meant 10,000 years of slumber, so he couldn't act often. Lin Moyu continued, what happened on the eternal side of the inner battlefield? Shangxin shook her head. I don't really know. Lord Candle Dragon said there was an accident, but didn't give details. Later, another eternal being arrived and forced the Wild Beast Emperor back, otherwise, we couldn't have held out. The Wild Beast Emperor has eternal level combat power, not much weaker, but still something great Dao Lords can't withstand. As they spoke, they left the plain and reached the very edge of the formation, 3 million li from the Dao Lord Hall. Beyond the formation was a world of dazzling light, appearing beautiful but hiding chaos within. Lin Moyu felt a strong urge to leave the formation and explore, as if the ultimate truth of this world lay out there. Shangxin bowed toward the formation. Grandpa Battle Sovereign, Shangxin is here to see you. As she spoke, the formation glowed, and a phantom appeared, a formation spirit. Lin Moyu hadn't expected this formation to have a spirit, but upon closer inspection, realized it wasn't an ordinary formation spirit. The phantom solidified into an old man with white hair but a vigorous spirit, clad in heavy armor and carrying a massive blade, an extraordinary sight. Shangxin introduced, this is Grandpa Battle Sovereign. Grandpa, this is Lin Moyu, a newly advanced great Dao Lord. The Battle Sovereign looked at Lin Moyu, eyes full of approval. Such a young great Dao Lord, I've never seen one before. Young man, you have a bright future. Lin Moyu replied humbly, you flatter me, senior. Shangxin added, Lin Moyu isn't just young, he's also very strong. He could defeat great Dao Lords even when he was still just a Dao Lord. The Battle Sovereign raised his eyebrows, even more pleased. Able to fight above your level. Excellent, we need more talents like you. Shangxin asked, can we go outside now? The Battle Sovereign glanced beyond the formation, his eyes flashing. There are 2 hours until the next filth tide. You can stay outside for at most 1 hour. Shangxin replied, all right, we won't go far, just look around and come right back. The Battle Sovereign said, I'll open the formation, but you must return on time, don't make Grandpa worry. Shangxin smiled sweetly, don't worry, Grandpa, I'll be back soon. At this moment, Shangxin seemed like a well-behaved granddaughter, nothing like a great Dao Lord. The Battle Sovereign looked at her with the affection of a grandfather for his granddaughter. Lin Moyu found it odd to see a great Dao Lord act so gently, and guessed their relationship was special. The Battle Sovereign opened the formation, revealing a passage. To Lin Moyu, this formation was nothing, he could leave anytime if he wanted. But as a newcomer, he didn't want to break the rules. Shangxin led Lin Moyu through the passage and out of the formation. The Battle Sovereign repeated his instructions, and Shangxin agreed to everything. Once outside, the passage closed behind them, and Lin Moyu felt as if he'd entered another world. It was hard to believe this was still part of the origin ancestral land. Beyond the formation, everything was dazzling and colorful, but inside, it was all gray and gloomy, with thick clouds overhead. The light was real, but all in the clouds, which flashed with multicolored lightning, painting the world in shifting hues. Here, Lin Moyu sensed an intense concentration of great Dao power, as if standing right next to a great Dao. But the power was chaotic and filthy. This was where all the filth of the great Daos gathered, a massive Dao garbage dump, filled with the impurities of countless Daos. Because of this, the Dao power here was thick but dirty and unusable for cultivation. This was why Dao wild beasts, creatures full of curses and filth, were born here. Shangxin said, Daoist Lin, take a good look. We can't go far, and must return in an hour. Lin Moyu asked, how did you know I wanted to come out here? Shengxin replied, every new great Dao Lord is curious about the Dao wild beasts territory and wants to come see it. Lin Moyu asked, the battle sovereign doesn't seem like an ordinary formation spirit. A trace of sadness flashed in Shengxin's eyes. He was my grandfather. Later, he became the formation spirit. 4046. 4046. Chapter 4046. The Lord of Curses Probe. Shengxin told Lin Moyu some things about her and Grandpa Battle Sovereign. Shengxin was an orphan, adopted by the Battle Sovereign, who was already a great Dao Lord at the time. One could say Shengxin grew up in comfort. The Battle Sovereign treated her very well and taught her to cultivate. With a great Dao Lord as her grandfather, Shengxin's cultivation went smoothly. She never encountered any bottlenecks and eventually became the Lord of the Life Great Dao. Her Battle Sovereign grandfather was gravely injured in that great riot, so badly that even Shengxin could not heal him. The Battle Sovereign could have chosen to dissipate and reincarnate, but to stop the Dao wild beasts, he gave up even that, transforming himself into a formation spirit to control the countless formations here and guard the place forever. In Shengxin's telling, her grandfather was a fearless good man who cared for her deeply. Shengxin still felt sad about it, even after all these years. Lin Moyu only sighed softly and said nothing. He didn't try to comfort Shengxin. She was already a great Dao Lord, not a child, and unnecessary comfort was pointless. He gazed into the void, sensing the endless great Daos casting off their impurities here, letting the filth gather and eventually form Dao wild beasts. Comparing this to his own Great Thousand World, Lin Moyu sensed the difference. The Great Thousand World also produced impurities, but it had chaotic energy, which digested those impurities well. This world lacked chaotic energy, so the filth had nowhere to go. As long as the world did not perish, Dao wild beasts would keep forming no matter how many were killed, they could never be wiped out. That was just the surface, any great Dao Lord could see it. Lin Moyu, however, saw deeper. He wanted to understand the real core. With the Great Thousand World and the Tech Dao World as references, he could see more. The Great Thousand World, to some extent, modeled itself after this world. Its many Daos originally came from here. In a way, the disciple surpassed the master, and Lin Moyu could see things others could not. From this comparison, Lin Moyu realized the key problem: this world has no master. He had found the root cause. This world had many imperfections, but the most important was that it had no master. A world without a master could only run on automatic, following its rules, with no one to intervene. If the world were perfect, there'd be no problem. But since it wasn't, issues kept arising. If there were a master, they could control the Dao wild beasts, preventing them from gnawing at the Daos. They could give them other enemies, like the soul-devouring spirits outside the world. In Lin Moyu's view, Dao wild beasts were a powerful force that could be put to good use. With the problem identified, the next step was to consider how to become this world's master. Lin Moyu felt he had a chance. He possessed the Great Thousand World and the Tech Dao World. Though their scale was less, they were of the same level. Controlling another world wasn't impossible. Perhaps the secret was hidden in the heaven and earth battlefield itself, and Lin Moyu instinctively wanted to investigate further. Time's up, Shengxin's voice sounded in his ear. Unknowingly, an hour had passed. Lin Moyu snapped out of his thoughts. All right, let's go back for now. He'd seen enough for today. Next time, he'd come alone and explore further. The clouds were even lower than before, the air heavy with the suffocating presence of Dao filth. Anyone below the great Dao realm who came here would have their power polluted and eventually die as their strength collapsed. Back at the formation, Shengxin called out, Grandpa Battle Sovereign, we're back. There was no response. The Battle Sovereign didn't open the passage. Shengxin was puzzled. What's going on? Why isn't Grandpa Battle Sovereign responding? She called twice more, but still nothing. Her expression changed. Could something have happened to Grandpa? Lin Moyu sensed something was wrong and looked up at the sky. Within the clouds, countless streaks of light flashed like electric snakes, but one red streak stood out. The red light was hidden among the many streaks, its aura masked among the filth, but Lin Moyu still detected it. No need to shout. The Battle Sovereign can't hear you, Lin Moyu said quietly. Shengxin turned to him. Taoist Lin, did you notice something? Lin Moyu replied, someone made a move, cutting off our connection to the Battle Sovereign. Shengxin looked around but saw nothing unusual. Who is your enemy, Taoist Lin? Lin Moyu said, the Lord of Curses. Shangxin thought for a moment. I've never heard of that great Tao Lord. Lin Moyu replied, he's an eternal, one of the oldest 8 eternals. He didn't explain further, that was enough. When Shangxin heard the enemy was an eternal, her face grew serious. What should we do? Lin Moyu said, this time it's probably just a probe. He reached out to touch the formation, but before he could, a red light flashed. A thin membrane appeared outside the formation, isolating them from it and blocking Shangxin's voice from passing through. The battle sovereign couldn't see what was happening outside. Shangxin felt the powerful force within the red light, full of curses. She disliked it, but had to admit it was strong. It looked thin, but she couldn't easily break it. Lin Moyu touched the red light, unconcerned by the curse power. Gray light of death twined around his fingertips, corroding everything, even curses. After a few breaths, he withdrew his hand. As expected, it was just a test. He casually drew a divine rune, and countless runes flew out, forming a great formation. Shangxin found the formation familiar. It resembled many of the formations in the heaven and earth battlefield. In a blink, the formation was complete. Lin Moyu pushed it forward, and it flew toward the existing formation. The two formations resonated, sandwiching the cursed membrane between them. The space between them shook violently, cracked, and exploded, shattering the cursed membrane. Lin Moyu smiled. That's done. Before Shangxin could speak, a portal opened and the battle sovereign's voice called, "You're back, come in quickly." The battle sovereign clearly had no idea what had just happened. He didn't know an eternal had acted and they'd almost been trapped outside. Lin Moyu gave Shangxin a look, signaling not to mention it. Shangxin understood. Back inside, the battle sovereign said, the filth tide is coming soon. Who knows if any Dao wild beasts will show up after it passes. 4047. 4047. Chapter 4047. Dao wild beasts should not have existed. Filth tides erupt periodically, each lasting several days, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Dao wild beasts come after a filth tide, but the scale varies. Sometimes only a few hundred show up, which is nothing. Other times, a massive horde follows the tide. No one can predict if a beast tide will happen, so every time a filth tide erupts, all great Dao lords mobilize just in case. Outside the formation, the flowing lights grew ever brighter. These lights were all the result of great Dao impurities. The more dazzling the lights, the more filth and impurities there were. The formation filtered the clouds, removing the oppressive aura and leaving only the essence. But in Lin Moyu's eyes, what was blocked by the formation was actually the most important information. That's why he wanted to leave the formation and probe the true source. When the filth and impurities reached their limit, nothing remained outside the formation but chaotic, flowing light. Shangxin's expression grew grave. The filth tide is coming. Lin Moyu had never seen a filth tide, but he could sense that when something reaches its extreme, there must be a reaction. Either things reverse at the extreme, or there's a complete outburst, unleashing all accumulated power. The filth tide was the latter. When filth piled up to its limit, it surged forth in a wave. In an instant, the dazzling lights vanished, all color turning to black as a tsunami of darkness crashed forward. Wave after wave of filth battered the formation, making it roar, and countless origin mountains inside the formation hummed in response. The origin mountains underwent strange changes. Some rose, some sank, some expanded outward, others contracted. Their changes triggered shifts in the formations carved on them, which then began to deform and collapse. Suppress. With a roar, the battle sovereign appeared in the void, splitting into thousands of avatars at every corner of the formation. Each battle sovereign drew the heavy blade on his back and stabbed it into the formation. Instantly, the battered formation stabilized, and the turmoil in the origin mountains subsided. All the formations on the origin mountains activated, linking with others to unleash immense power, resisting the filth tide and stabilizing the battlefield. The heaven and earth battlefield is vast, and the filth tide targets the entire area, not just one spot. There are thousands of formations across the battlefield, all needed to withstand the tide. Shangxin explained, without Grandpa Battle Sovereign overseeing the formations, every filth tide would cause several to collapse. Filth would pour in through those breaches, polluting the battlefield. The origin mountains would be affected, causing even more formations to collapse, leading to a vicious cycle. After the filth tide, Dao wild beasts would rush in through the gaps, making our defense much harder. Lin Moyu was puzzled. With so many formations, and each so powerful, shouldn't some have developed formation spirits? Shengxin replied, there have been formation spirits more than one, but it's useless. Filth tides can corrupt even formation spirits. Even formation spirits couldn't withstand the filth, truly terrifying. Shengxin continued, later, Grandpa Battle Sovereign became the formation spirit, merging with the formations. Since then, it's been much harder for the filth tide to break through. With his help, even if a beast tide follows, we can handle it much more easily. Watching the Battle Sovereign's countless avatars control the formations, making the battlefield ironclad, Lin Moyu had to admit it was impressive. Still, to Lin Moyu, neither the filth tide nor the formations were anything special. No matter how strong the filth tide, it couldn't threaten a great Dao Lord. The real threat would come from the Dao wild beasts afterward. On the surface, it seemed the filth tide was just paving the way for the beasts. But Lin Moyu saw something deeper. At the very center of the filth tide, tiny points of light were born. The filth tide was dirty, chaotic, and the filthiest thing in the world. Yet the lights born from it felt pure to Lin Moyu. He immediately thought of the souls of Dao wild beasts. Their souls are extremely pure, the opposite of their filthy bodies. Lin Moyu muttered, so the filth tide is the source of Dao wild beasts' birth. Shengxin was startled. Taoist Lin, how do you know that? Lin Moyu replied, I saw it. The souls of Dao wild beasts are born from the filth tide, though their bodies must form elsewhere. Shengxin frowned. Souls? She clearly hadn't seen the lights in the filth tide. Her soul realm wasn't high enough. Still, she chose to trust Lin Moyu. An eternal once said that in the deepest part of the wild beast ancestral land, there are pools of Dao filth, and Dao wild beasts are born from them. As for the souls you mention, I haven't seen them. Lin Moyu now understood the entire process. Pure souls are born from the filth tide, bodies form from the pools of Dao filth, and together they make a Dao wild beast. Their chaotic, filthy, cursed bodies need pure souls to control them. Two extremes, perfectly combined, just like his own immortality great Dao. And because their souls are so pure, they instinctively yearn for the great Daos in the origin ancestral land. Dao wild beasts are the ultimate extreme products of a world with no master, things that shouldn't exist. Lin Moyu also thought of the soul-devouring spirits. Dao impurities create Dao wild beasts, the world's own filth creates soul-devouring spirits. One gnaws at the great Dao, the other devours living beings. How interesting. So what exactly are the heaven and earth spirit demons? Lin Moyu felt he was close to unraveling the world's final secret. The filth tide crashed against the formation in waves, but with the battle sovereign in control, the formation held firm. In the distance, powerful auras approached great Dao lords arriving. After the filth tide, Dao wild beasts would surely come, the only question was how many. Their job was to clear out the beasts. Shengxin said, let's hope there isn't a beast tide. Lin Moyu asked, are beast tides really that terrible? Shengxin replied, it depends. A small tide is just 1,000 or 2 Dao wild beasts and a few Dao wild beast kings. We can handle that. A big tide is trouble, people will get hurt. The kind of massive riot we had before has only happened a few times in history. The God of Light and Lord of Darkness arrived too. It was the duty of all great Dao lords, so they had to come. But they kept their distance from Lin Moyu. He didn't care about them. They were just clowns compared to the Lord of Curses. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Lin Moyu's soul. Taoist Lin, may I have a word? 4048. 4048. Chapter 4048. A childish plan. A faint smile appeared at the corner of Lin Moyu's mouth. The voice suddenly ringing in his soul was from the Lord of Darkness. This guy wanted to talk. How interesting. Lin Moyu replied, talk about what? The Lord of Darkness continued via soul transmission, I have no life or death feud with Taoist Lin. I don't wish to be your enemy. I was wrong in the past and am willing to apologize. I didn't want to keep being your enemy, but was led astray and made a mistake. Lin Moyu said, now that you say this, why should I believe you? The Lord of Darkness said, I can immediately break with the God of Light, as long as Taoist Lin will let bygones be bygones. Lin Moyu replied, it's not that simple. If you want to settle things with me, there are only 3 ways. Kill me, I kill you, or you kill him. There's no fourth option. Although they didn't have a mortal feud, there was at least a grudge. Settling it wasn't so easy. 3 paths, 3 choices. Die standing, live kneeling, or kill the God of Light as proof of loyalty. Lin Moyu was no saint. Since they'd become enemies, there had to be a price. If he wasn't strong enough, would the Lord of Darkness be here seeking peace? He was just afraid of dying. The Lord of Darkness hesitated. But I'm not his match. Lin Moyu smiled. That's your problem. After a moment's struggle, the Lord of Darkness said, he's only half a step from eternity. Taoist Lin, how about this? I lure him somewhere, you kill him, and I assist from the side. Lin Moyu knew that making the Lord of Darkness kill the God of Light alone wasn't easy. So he said, fine, just let me know when and where. The Lord of Darkness seemed delighted. Good, please wait for my message, Taoist Lin. Lin Moyu couldn't help but smile. What a poor performance. Shengxin was a bit puzzled. She hadn't understood Lin Moyu's words, but didn't ask. Lin Moyu watched the filth tide, thinking about what the Lord of Darkness had just said. The Lord of Darkness had no idea how high Lin Moyu's soul realm was. It had already surpassed most Eternals and reached the limits of this world. If he wanted, Lin Moyu could eavesdrop on soul transmissions in the area. While the Lord of Darkness was talking to him, he was also sending soul transmissions to the God of Light. Lin Moyu heard it all. Seeking peace. This was just a play put on by the Lord of Darkness and the God of Light, using the pretense of reconciliation to lure Lin Moyu in. They'd set a trap, wait for him to walk into it, and then try to kill him. Here in the Origin Ancestral Land, on the Heaven and Earth battlefield, they had nowhere else to run. They knew they couldn't win head-on, so they had to try something else. To Lin Moyu, this was nothing but child's play, so naive. Maybe they'd never tried scheming before, so their plan was so immature. Since they wanted to play, Lin Moyu decided to play along. He'd been looking for a chance to get rid of them, and now they were digging their own graves. Lin Moyu's gaze swept across the filth tide. Within it, tiny points of light kept appearing and then drifting away. Each point of light was the soul of a Dao wild beast. Every filth tide saw at least 10,000 Dao wild beasts born. Lin Moyu noted the direction these lights traveled. They were heading to where their bodies would form. Their paths were similar, so that must be the place where bodies were created. 3 days later, the filth tide weakened. Shengxin said, this filth tide lasted only 3 days. If any Dao wild beasts come now, it'll probably just be a few scattered ones, a small beast tide at most. Lin Moyu nodded. There are hundreds of great Dao lords here. If it's just a small beast tide, it won't be a problem. Shengxin agreed, with Taoist Lin here, even a big beast tide wouldn't be an issue. Lin Moyu smiled but didn't comment. He asked, other than after filth tides, do Dao wild beasts come at other times? Shengxin said, they do, but usually not in large numbers. With Grandpa Battle Sovereign here, we get warned right away if anything happens. Actually, the most troublesome are not Dao wild beasts, but the Heaven and Earth spirit demons. They show up in groups from time to time and are even more troublesome than Dao wild beasts in some ways. Heaven and Earth spirit demons can absorb most attacks if you hit them with full force. Less than 10% actually works. That's what makes them so hard to kill. They can also slip through formations without a sound, and by the time you notice, they're already inside. Lin Moyu said, they're a bit like soul-devouring spirits. Shengxin replied, yes, but they can't read memories, change shape, or be completely immune to attacks, so they're not the same. Luckily, they're not too strong and not too numerous. They're annoying, but we can kill them. The problem is their timing and location are unpredictable. The Heaven and Earth spirit demons were just troublesome, not dangerous, unlike Dao wild beasts, which were dangerous in large numbers. Lin Moyu asked, Dao wild beasts come to devour Daos. Why do the Heaven and Earth spirit demons come? Shengxin shook her head. No one knows, but it can't be anything good. If Dao wild beasts devoured all the Daos, the world might be destroyed, but the spirit demons are a mystery. After 3 days, the filth tide finally receded. The Battle Sovereign sheathed his blade, his thousands of avatars still watching outside the formation. Soon, his voice boomed, they're here, about 2,000, with 3 Dao wild beast kings. His avatars vanished, leaving only one about 100,000 li from Lin Moyu. The Dao wild beasts were coming from there. Shengxin breathed a sigh of relief. Just a small beast tide. It'll be over quickly. Hundreds of great Dao lords flew toward the Battle Sovereign's position. The formation opened, and a group of great Dao lords rushed out. Not all took part, less than 100 did. For a small beast tide, that was enough. Lin Moyu watched the battle outside the formation. The great Dao lords crushed the Dao wild beasts with overwhelming force. The beasts were no match, most were killed in moments. The 3 Dao wild beast kings were each surrounded by 5 great Dao lords and didn't last long. The great Dao lords showed their might, holding the line at the Heaven and Earth battlefield and keeping the enemy outside the formation. Lin Moyu noticed threads of energy descending from the heavens, landing on the great Tao lords who fought. Heaven and Earth Fortune. 4049. 4049. Chapter 4049. The Origin of Heaven and Earth. Who would have thought that killing Tao wild beasts here would grant one heaven and earth fortune? Although the amount was small, it was still a gain. Shengxin said, Taoist Lin, you must have noticed killing Tao wild beasts isn't without reward, at least you get heaven and earth fortune. Besides that, if you're lucky, you might get Tao wild beast essence, but the odds are very low, not like in the Soul Void. In the Soul Void, killing a Tao wild beast always yields beast essence, but here the chance is less than 1%. This small beast tide, with about 2,000 Tao wild beasts and 3 Tao wild beast kings, produced only 5 clumps of beast essence, and they were all ordinary, not enough to go around. Fortunately, great Tao lords don't need beast essence much, so whoever gets it keeps it, there's no fighting over it. Lin Moyu asked, if there's heaven and earth fortune, why don't most people fight? Shengxin replied, heaven and earth fortune has pros and cons. The good is that if you accumulate enough, you have a chance to glimpse eternity. The bad is that if you're careless while trying, you could die and your Tao be erased. Throughout history, many have tried, but few succeeded. Many great Tao lords died on this path. So those with ambition are proactive and kill more, the rest just watch and take it easy. To glimpse eternity, you have to open the gate to the land of return, and heaven and earth fortune is the key, but almost no one succeeds. The human sovereign is one who made it, but he forged his own path, not relying on killing Tao wild beasts in the heaven and earth battlefield. It's a hard road, so many just give up and avoid the temptation. Some eternal beings even give up on the final step, cherishing their lives. The small beast tide ended quickly. The flowing lights outside the formation dimmed, needing to accumulate again before the next filth tide. Of all the Tao wild beasts killed, only a few became beast essence, the rest didn't really die. Lin Moyu saw their souls sink into the earth, destination unknown, probably escaping and reforming their bodies to revive. As long as heaven and earth remain without a master, as long as the rules don't change, Tao wild beasts can never be wiped out. The great Tao lords returned, the battle sovereign closed the passage, and 2 Tao lords stayed behind to repair the damaged formations. The rest dispersed back to the Tao Lord Hall. Filth tides and small beast tides were routine, happening every so often. No one was injured this time, so Shengxin didn't need to heal anyone. Shengxin said, Grandpa Battle Sovereign, I'll head back now. The Battle Sovereign replied, the next filth tide will erupt in about a month, and it looks like it'll be bigger, maybe a major beast tide. Be prepared. Shengxin nodded, I'll go refine more pills, just in case. It was clear the Battle Sovereign cared about major beast tides. Small ones were minor scuffles, big ones were real battles. After returning, Shengxin didn't just rest, she'd refine healing pills using rare ingredients and the life great Tao, just in case. Shengxin asked Lin Moyu, Taoist Lin, are you going to keep exploring the heaven and earth battlefield, or return to the Tao Lord Hall? Lin Moyu replied, I'm still new here, so I'll wander the battlefield a bit more. Alright, if you need anything, come to the Tao Lord Hall anytime. Shengxin knew Lin Moyu had his own plans and left. After Shengxin left, Lin Moyu asked, Battle Sovereign, may I go outside the formation for a look? The Battle Sovereign said, you can, but you're responsible for yourself. Young man, you're talented, but you should still be careful. Lin Moyu nodded, understood. I'm not going now, but I'll let you know when I do. The Battle Sovereign nodded, go ahead. Lin Moyu bid farewell and wandered the heaven and earth battlefield. He approached an origin mountain, touching it and feeling its unique properties. Origin mountains are special, they can hold divine runes and serve as formation bases, but can't be used for forging. They're extremely tough, but if broken, they turn to dust. They combine strength, gentleness, toughness, and fragility in one unique material. A special sensation came from the origin mountain, reaching into Lin Moyu's soul, a familiar feeling. Great Tao origin energy. Lin Moyu was surprised he actually sensed great Tao origin energy inside the origin mountain. Deep within, there was a powerful great Tao origin energy, far stronger than what he could produce himself. He tried to touch it, but the mountain's outer layers blocked his soul force. The Battle Sovereign watched from afar and chuckled, young people are always curious about the origin mountains. A Tao Lord maintaining the formation laughed, we were the same back then, everyone knows there's a secret in the origin mountains, but after so many years, no one's figured it out. The battle sovereign sighed, yes, after all these years, no one's truly understood the origin mountains. He didn't disturb Lin Moyu if he wanted to study them, let him, he'd give up eventually. Lin Moyu tried many ways but couldn't reach the great Tao origin energy inside. Suddenly, he thought of something and took out a bottle of beast essence. Drawing out the great Tao origin energy, he probed the origin mountain again. Where his soul force was blocked, the presence of great Tao origin energy opened a path, letting him in. There's a way. Lin Moyu's soul attached itself to his great Tao origin energy and entered. He soon reached the core and saw a river of great Tao origin energy, vast and magnificent. His own origin energy was like a mere trickle in comparison. No wonder it's called the origin mountain. Now he understood. The origin mountain was all about great Tao origin energy. But why was so much hidden inside? He sent his origin energy into the river. Boom. His soul trembled, and he felt himself in a strange space. Chaotic energy. Lin Moyu was shocked. He was surrounded by endless chaos energy. Chaos energy was mysterious. The world tree constantly drew power from it, turning it into his soul energy. The chaos seed also absorbed it to recover. But since he couldn't yet become chaos himself, he couldn't enter. This was just a vision. Points of light appeared, gathering in the chaos, stirring it up. Strands of great Tao origin energy converged, forming a great mountain, the origin mountain. The mountain opened a space in the chaos, growing larger and larger. When it reached its limit, it exploded, releasing all its origin energy and expanding the space. At the center, a region appeared, filled with origin energy, forming a giant egg that began to hatch. As the egg hatched, the origin energy grew wilder, until the egg burst. Lin Moyu exclaimed, "The land of return." 4050. 4050. Chapter 4050. The place has been chosen. He witnessed the formation of the land of return and understood how the original 8 great Taos came to be. From chaos, endless great Tao origin energy evolved until it reached its limit and exploded, beginning to form a giant egg. This egg was the prototype of the land of return, and also the prototype of the entire world. The egg continuously accumulated great Tao origin energy, evolving internally. At the same time, the origin energy outside the egg became extremely wild, nothing like the gentle origin energy seen today. Now, great Tao origin energy flows like a stream, but at the world's beginning, it surged like a 10,000-meter waterfall. The wild origin energy all seemed to want to rush into the egg, colliding and transforming in the chaos, gradually becoming distinct. The origin energy began to split, evolving into different attributes, each with its own power and characteristics, becoming the prototypes of the great Taos. Once they became great Tao prototypes, they madly tried to enter the egg. The egg already contained a sea of origin energy, and when these variously attributed great Tao prototypes entered, it was like pouring water into oil, causing the energy within to boil over and exceed its limits. The egg exploded, forming a region, the land of return. Lin Moyu saw all the evolved great Taos desperately trying to rush into the land of return, but it was tiny at first, and in the end, only 8 great Taos managed to settle inside. Survival of the fittest, so that's how the 8 great Taos came about. The original 8 great Taos of the land of return weren't appointed by anyone, they fought their way in themselves. Once the 8 great Taos settled, the land of return was basically formed. The other great Tao prototypes that didn't make it remained outside, eventually forming the origin ancestral land, Benyuan Zuda. Thus, the core of this world was created. The vision Lin Moyu saw ended here, but he could easily guess what happened next. The great Taos collided, intertwined, and together perfected both the land of return and the origin ancestral land. During this evolution, they cast off impurities, which became the filth of the world and ultimately formed Tao wild beasts. Under the influence of these Taos, the origin energy accumulated in the egg began to evolve the world, eventually creating the current structure. The origin energy inside the origin mountains was the leftover accumulation from the world's creation, not all of it used up during the world's formation. Feeling the ancientness of this origin energy, Lin Moyu sensed that the world's evolution was incomplete. It was as if the puzzle of the world was missing a small piece, and that piece was hidden within this origin energy. That's why there are so many imperfections in the world. Lin Moyu became even more convinced of his idea: this world needs a master. A world with no one in control will always have problems. Suddenly, the voice of the Lord of Darkness rang in Lin Moyu's soul: Taoist Lin, we've chosen the place. It sounded like he was transmitting from very far away, deliberately lowering his voice as if doing something shady. Lin Moyu looked up and saw the dark great Tao. All sorts of great Taos appeared in the heaven and earth battlefield, but now the dark great Tao was especially prominent. Within it, Lin Moyu sensed a shadow of the Lord of Darkness, a trace of his soul left behind. This time, the Lord of Darkness wasn't using ordinary soul transmission, but transmitting through the great Tao itself, so his location was unknown. The Lord of Darkness then told Lin Moyu the location, outside the formation, about 1,000,000 li away, a place called Burial Dao Valley, Zhang Dao Gu. Lin Moyu sneered inwardly, Burial Dao Valley, why pick that place? Is there some special reason? With these thoughts, Lin Moyu left the Origin Mountain and returned to the formation's edge. Senior Battle Sovereign, I'd like to go outside for a look. The Battle Sovereign's voice came, go ahead. Every newly advanced Great Tao Lord should go see it. Even if you didn't ask, I'd have sent you out to take a look. Lin Moyu was surprised. Is there a particular reason? The Battle Sovereign said, outside the formation is also the heaven and earth battlefield, which has seen countless great wars over the ages. The blood of great Taos has not dried, the fighting spirit of the ancients still lingers. Even if they've fallen, their will to battle remains. We juniors can feel the fighting spirit of our predecessors, cleanse our souls, and understand how fierce those ancient battles were. Lin Moyu recalled that Shengxin had said long ago, the battles between great Tao lords and wild beasts didn't always take place here. Back then, the battlefield was much larger, with countless fierce wars. Many great Tao lords fell. Those who lived millions or tens of millions of years were still considered juniors compared to them. Lin Moyu understood. He had seen the world's origin, and while it looked like the world evolved quickly, in reality, it spanned countless ages, billions of years. How many great Tao lords had appeared and fallen no one could say. Lin Moyu asked, Senior, do you have any recommended places? The Battle Sovereign replied, Solitude Tao Mountain, Burial Tao Valley, and Attainment Tao Cliff are all worth seeing. Especially Burial Tao Valley, the battles there were the fiercest. The entire valley was solidified by the fighting, and the will of the Tao lords has kept the terrain unchanged for 1,000,000,000 years. As for Attainment Tao Cliff, that's where the Lord of Slaughter achieved eternity by opening the Eternal Gate. Lin Moyu was surprised, the Lord of Slaughter. The Battle Sovereign said, yes, the Lord of Slaughter gained massive heaven and earth fortune and opened the Eternal Gate. Hearing this, some vague memories became clear. In the Land of Return, there was indeed a great Tao matching the Slaughter Tao, but if he remembered right, its owner had long since fallen silent. After the original 8, 10 more great Taos were added to the Land of Return, and then the gate closed. Later, 2 more peerless geniuses forcibly opened the gate with heaven and earth's power, becoming new Eternals. One was the Human Sovereign, who achieved the Tao by spreading teachings and gaining heaven and earth's approval. The other was the Lord of Slaughter, who achieved the Tao by slaying Tao wild beasts and accumulating massive heaven and earth fortune. Both were astonishing figures, though the Lord of Slaughter later faded away for other reasons. Lin Moyu thought, since that's where the Lord of Slaughter achieved eternity, I should definitely visit. The Battle Sovereign said, the next filth tide is in half a month, you'll have time. Just return before the tide. Also, once outside the formation, be careful of Tao wild beasts and the ever-present heaven and earth spirit demons. Lin Moyu nodded, I will. Thank you, Senior. The Battle Sovereign opened a passage, and Lin Moyu stepped out. His dangers weren't limited to Tao wild beasts and spirit demons, there was also the Lord of Curses lurking in the dark, the real threat. No wonder they chose Burial Tao Valley, turns out every new great Tao Lord goes there. Well, let's add 2 more Tao corpses to Burial Tao Valley. 4051, 4051. Chapter 4051, Burial Tao Valley. After coming into contact with the great Tao origin energy inside the Origin Mountain and witnessing part of the world's origin, what seemed like an instant actually took nearly half a month. This half-month was the time the Lord of Darkness and the God of Light spent plotting. Lin Moyu didn't care what kind of trap they set up against absolute power, no scheme would matter. For the second time, he entered the world outside the formation. The clouds were higher now, and the great Tao lights within them were less intense and dense. There were still half a month until the next filth tide, the filth was still gathering strength. Lin Moyu flew over the desolate land, still marked by traces of ancient battles. Great Tao lords once fought here back then, there were no formations, and their only thought was to storm the Tao wild beasts' lair and wipe them out. Unfortunately, they failed. The great Tao lords couldn't break through, and after suffering heavy losses, they had to retreat. Burial Tao Valley was a million li from the formation, not far at all. Lin Moyu soon arrived. 2 origin mountains stood on either side, piercing the clouds and forming a natural barrier. Between the 2 mountains was a valley. Traces of ancient formations could still be seen, though faded with time. The formations set by great Tao lords had long since worn away. Lin Moyu could sense the ancientness of these formations, so different from those of the present age. But all Taos ultimately serve the same purpose. This used to be a stronghold. Once, the great Tao lords' defensive line was here, not back there. Burial Tao Valley, just a million li from the formation, was once where the great Tao lords fought their way to and set up a base. But now, they'd been forced to retreat a million li. The truth was, the great Tao lords had lost ground to the Tao wild beasts. The heaven and earth battlefield was tens of millions of li deep. For cultivators at the Tao lord level, that distance was just a step. If not blocked, Tao wild beasts could cross it in an instant. The great Tao lords could retreat no further, they had to hold the line. If luck was on their side, they could maintain the balance for billions of years. If not, a few more massive riots and even the Candle Dragon might not be able to hold the line. The best defense is offense. If we could set up the line at the Tao wild beasts' doorstep, watching their every move, that would be ideal. Lin Moyu laughed at himself. His idea was a bit ridiculous, not impossible, but extremely difficult. Even eternal beings wouldn't dare think that way. Standing outside Burial Tao Valley, he could feel the battle intent that had never faded over countless years. It enveloped the valley, keeping the origin mountains unchanged. Lin Moyu landed and walked into the valley on foot, out of respect for the great Tao lords who had fallen here. Inside, Burial Tao Valley was solemn and heavy. The battle intent of the fallen great Tao lords was nearly tangible, so strong that even the filth tide couldn't invade. At least several hundred great Tao lords fell here. Lin Moyu couldn't imagine how intense that battle must have been. Hundreds of great Tao lords, each capable of destroying a world, dying here. The battlefield was incredibly tough, and so were the origin mountains, but surely the Tao lords could have escaped if they wanted. Why didn't they run? Was it because they couldn't, or because they wouldn't? Sensing the battle intent, Lin Moyu realized the answer: they wouldn't. Their will was resolute, they never intended to run. There must have been a reason they had to stay, even if it meant death. What really happened back then? Lin Moyu sighed and moved on. Burial Tao Valley was huge. After entering, the terrain suddenly opened up. Before him was a plain stretching out of sight, over 100 li wide, flanked by mountains. On the plain, countless flowers bloomed, not ordinary flowers, but Tao flowers. Within them seemed to be the blood, Tao, battle intent, and everything of the great Tao lords. Hundreds of great Tao lords had died here, fighting to the end. And the place the Lord of Darkness had indicated was right here. Lin Moyu's gaze swept across, noticing some interesting things, but he paid them no mind and walked in. He had barely walked 100 li into the plain when a blazing sun suddenly rose in the sky. The sun illuminated the plain, and the Tao flowers reflected its light, making the blooms appear even more dazzling. Lin Moyu looked at the sun. God of light, you've chosen this as your burial ground. The God of light appeared before the sun, sneering. Burial Tao Valley, where great Tao lords are buried. To die here is an honor for you. Lin Moyu smiled. You're that confident you can kill me? The God of light said coldly, I admit you're strong, but there are countless ways to kill you. I don't have to fight you head on. With my preparations, you have no chance this time. Lin Moyu ignored him. Talking was pointless, action mattered. He looked past the God of light. Lord of Darkness, you said you wanted to settle things with me. Now's your chance. The Lord of Darkness appeared behind the God of light, eyes cold. Did you really believe anything I said? I just wanted to lure you here. The God of light laughed. Aren't you supposed to be clever? You always see through everything. How could you fall for this? Or do you think you're so strong that no matter what we plan, you can break through? Confidence is good, but if you're too arrogant, Before he could finish, the God of light screamed in agony. Behind him, the Lord of Darkness had suddenly struck, stabbing him with a dagger filled with Tao power. The God of light screamed as darkness devoured him, his light rapidly fading. He struggled, turning into a stream of light that fled 1,000 meters away, reappearing in another spot, staring at the Lord of Darkness in shock. You tricked me. Only now did the God of light realize he was the real victim. Lin Moyu chuckled, surprised. The God of Light's face turned ugly as he finally understood. He and the Lord of Darkness had plotted to lure Lin Moyu here, planning for the Lord of Darkness to pretend to betray him and offer proof of loyalty, just to trick Lin Moyu into coming. That was what the God of Light thought, and he'd made what he thought were perfect preparations. But he never expected the Lord of Darkness truly wanted to make peace with Lin Moyu and was willing to offer proof. The Lord of Darkness was weaker than the God of Light, but with a full-force sneak attack, he seriously injured him. Lin Moyu smiled. Looks like the one dying here today won't be me. 4052. 4052. Chapter 4052, just with this. Originally, it was supposed to be the God of Light and the Lord of Darkness joining forces against Lin Moyu. Now, it had turned into Lin Moyu and the Lord of Darkness joining forces against the God of Light. The God of Light's expression was extremely ugly. Facing Lin Moyu alone was already troublesome. Now, with the Lord of Darkness as well, even with all his preparations, his survival was far from guaranteed. The Lord of Darkness said quietly, "Taoist Lin, is this satisfactory?" Lin Moyu smiled, "Not bad, keep it up." Snap. With a snap of his fingers, countless undead servants appeared in the void, immediately charging at the God of Light. At this point, the God of Light had no intention of killing Lin Moyu, he was only thinking about how to escape. Fortunately, he still had some arrangements, some of which even the Lord of Darkness did not know about. Facing the onrushing undead servants, the God of Light shouted, and a ball of light exploded from his hand. Behind him appeared a 10,000-meter-high tower. The tower had 100 floors, each inscribed with countless divine runes. The first floor lit up, unleashing an invisible force that blasted all the undead servants back. The Lord of Darkness exclaimed, "100 Formation Tower, how do you have that?" The God of Light snorted, ignoring the Lord of Darkness. Part of his attention was on expelling the darkness left in his body by the Lord of Darkness, while the rest controlled the 100 Formation Tower. The second floor lit up, and a fierce wind arose, powerful enough to blow even the undead servants away. "This 100 Formation Tower is interesting," Lin Moyu muttered. Each floor of the tower was a powerful formation, enough to shake even a great Tao Lord. This treasure was at the Tao Lord level, but Lin Moyu could tell it didn't originally belong to the God of Light. The Lord of Darkness quickly explained, "That's the treasure of the heavenly formation Tao Lord, I don't know how he got it." No wonder the formations were so strong, much more formidable than those of the world-sealing Tao Lord. The God of Light snorted, and the 20th floor of the 100 Formation Tower lit up. Instantly, space distorted, and the plane was stretched and expanded. The distance between them and the God of Light increased 1,000-fold, scattering the undead servants. The Lord of Darkness struck again, producing a chain that pierced the void and latched onto the God of Light. Using the darkness he'd left in the God of Light's body as an anchor, he held him fast. The God of Light's face was grim. "Lord of Darkness, after this, I'll kill you myself." The Lord of Darkness gritted his teeth, "Survive today first." The God of Light roared, activating the 30th floor of the tower. A formation flew out and resonated with heaven and earth. Thousands of suns appeared in the sky, each firing beams of light into the formation, which amplified them into countless giant swords that swept across the land. Countless undead servants were struck down, but their wounds healed instantly, such attacks barely scratched them. The suns kept pouring light into the formation, which turned it into blades that swept the world. With the 100 Formation Tower, the God of Light's power increased significantly. The Lord of Darkness grew anxious. "Damn, he's clearing out my darkness. Once it's all gone, I won't be able to hold him." Lin Moyu smiled, "Don't worry, he's not getting away." With a flick of his finger, dozens of divine runes shot out, instantly fusing into the formation. The formation sputtered and died. The God of Light's expression changed, he quickly withdrew the formation and activated the 50th floor. Another formation flew out, unfolding in the sky. It shot out 10,000 rays of light, and the 1,000 suns instantly doubled, then quadrupled, reaching 10,000. The valley was bathed in white light, the power of the light great Tao surging through the world. Divine light annihilation. The God of Light roared, and 10,000 suns covered the valley, their divine light destroying all in its path. Countless Taos shattered, and on the ground, the Tao flowers shimmered, their faint glow blocking the divine light. The undead servants were not so lucky under the divine light, they were vaporized on the spot. The Lord of Darkness was also enveloped in divine light, gritting his teeth as he used his dark great Tao to resist. Normally, he would have fled, but today he couldn't. If the God of Light survived, he'd have no future. He glanced at Lin Moyu in shock. Lin Moyu, bathed in divine light and under the slaughter of the light great Tao, was completely unaffected. All the attacks were absorbed by his billions of undead servants and the great thousand world. This level of attack meant nothing to him. The undead servants killed by the divine light were already being reborn in the chaotic region. Lin Moyu mused, this formation multiplies the suns, boosting the divine light's power several times over. The previous formation enhanced power directly, this one does it by quantity. The heavenly formation Tao Lord's formation skills are impressive, so versatile. I should discuss formations with him someday. This 100 formation tower must be precious. I wonder how the God of Light got it. If it fell into my hands, I wonder what the heavenly formation Tao Lord would think. While Lin Moyu was lost in thought, he casually flicked out a few more divine runes. The runes ignored the divine light annihilation, entered the formation, and snuffed it out. The 10,000 suns shrank back to 1,000. The God of Light's face changed again, another formation broken. He hadn't expected Lin Moyu's formation mastery to be so profound. By now, he had nearly expelled all the darkness and was confident he could escape soon. He withdrew the dead formation and activated the 90th floor. This time, the entire burial Dao Valley trembled, and countless Dao flowers resonated. The 100 formation tower hummed. The God of Light shouted, Ancestors, if you have spirit, let your battle intent live on, heed my call and destroy the enemy. Spirit summon. The formation activated, and phantoms appeared in the Dao flowers, gathering in the air as invincible warriors like the great Dao lords of old. Their lingering will awaken to fight again. Divine light possession. 1,000 suns poured beams of light down, each infused with the God of Light's will, allowing him to control the ancient Dao lords. The Lord of Darkness cried out, this is his ultimate move. He said he'd use the spirits of the ancestors in Burial Dao Valley to deal with your puppets. Lin Moyu looked on with disdain. Just with this. 4053. 4053. Chapter 4053. You're not worthy to be buried here. It wasn't that Lin Moyu looked down on the lingering spirits and battle will of these great Dao lords. Even if all of them were revived, he wouldn't be afraid. With the sheer number of his undead servants, he could sweep through Burial Dao Valley with ease. But Lin Moyu didn't want to fight these great Dao lords. They had all sacrificed themselves for heaven and earth. Calling them heroes was no exaggeration. Their lingering spirits and battle will still guarded Burial Dao Valley. They shouldn't be used as mere weapons. That would be desecration. The God of Light was also ancient, on par with these heroes, yet now he was using them for his own gain. A slow anger rose in Lin Moyu's heart, his killing intent flaring. You know all these heroic spirits, don't you? The God of Light was momentarily stunned. Why are you asking? What's it to you? Lin Moyu said, using your former comrades as weapons, you've gone too far. The God of Light suddenly burst out laughing. Ridiculous. You're so naive. They're dead. Even if they were once comrades, now they're just corpses. Lin Moyu's killing intent was icy. Someone like you isn't worthy of being a great Dao Lord. With a thought, his fingers blurred and countless divine runes shot out, merging with the world. A grand formation instantly took shape. Bang! The 100 formation tower in the God of Light's hand suddenly gave a soft sound, then flew out of his control, transforming into a stream of light and landing in Lin Moyu's hand. The God of Light was in disbelief. How is this possible? Lin Moyu said coldly, you don't understand formations at all. The God of Light did know formations, but not deeply enough. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to control the 100 formation tower at all. But compared to Lin Moyu, his formation mastery was like a child's. When Lin Moyu disrupted 2 formations earlier, he had already embedded his own divine runes into them. When the God of Light withdrew the formations into the tower, Lin Moyu used his runes to take control. He didn't need full mastery, just a foothold to seize the tower. Holding the 100 formation tower, Lin Moyu willed the 9th level formation to dissipate. The heroic spirit phantoms instantly collapsed and vanished. Lin Moyu said quietly, I had thought to let you rest here, among these heroes of your era. But now, I see you're not worthy. You'll leave not even a corpse or soul behind. With a thought, countless undead servants appeared again. This time, Lin Moyu was truly intent on killing. The number of undead was overwhelming, covering the plain. The God of Light finally finished purging the darkness from his body, breaking the Lord of Darkness's chain. He turned into a stream of light, fleeing toward the valley's exit, still wounded but knowing he couldn't wait any longer. The Lord of Darkness shouted, he's running. He can't escape, Lin Moyu said softly. A small, adorable reverse Tao sprite appeared on his shoulder. With a wave of its tiny hand, the god of light, who had reached the valley entrance, was suddenly pulled back even faster. The key was, the god of light didn't even realize he was flying backward. He shrieked, trying to fly out, but the faster he went, the faster he was pulled back. The Lord of Darkness realized what was happening and exclaimed, "Reverse Tao." The reverse Tao had little combat power but was extremely strange and rare. Even among great Tao lords, very few had ever seen it. The Lord of Darkness had never seen it before. This was his first time, and it was truly bizarre. The god of light, still unaware, kept shouting, "What's going on? Why is this happening?" He finally realized it wasn't that Lin Moyu was chasing fast, but that he hadn't escaped at all. He'd been pulled right back into the undead horde. By the time he understood, the undead had already swarmed him. The undead servants launched endless attacks, engulfing the god of light. Against tens of billions of undead, each only slightly weaker than a great Tao Lord, he had no chance. The Lord of Darkness warned, "Be careful, he still has two tricks left. One is self-destruction and reincarnation, the other is forcibly leaving the battlefield in the origin ancestral land. But that comes with punishment, almost as bad as self-destruction." Lin Moyu asked, "Is the punishment severe?" The Lord of Darkness replied, "Very. If you leave the battlefield without permission, heaven and earth will see you as a deserter. Your cultivation will be greatly damaged, though you'll probably keep your Tao Lord status. But the wounds from heaven and earth's punishment are hard to heal, at least several million years. Second, you must return within 1,000 years to atone, and stay in the battlefield for 1,000,000 years before you can leave again. If you slack off and don't kill enough Tao wild beasts, you'll be punished again." It was indeed harsh. Deserters are despised even in the army, and heaven and earth are no different. The Lord of Darkness added, "I think he'll try self-destruction and reincarnation, dragging us down with him." Lin Moyu glanced at the sky. He won't get the chance. With a flick of his finger, a series of divine runes, each personally refined and already transcending ordinary runes, shot out and formed a profound formation in the air. Then, the 100 formation tower's topmost, 100th floor blazed to life, sending out another intricate formation. The Lord of Darkness was amazed. "Taoist Lin, you can activate the tower's strongest formation. Your formation mastery is truly admirable." He wasn't just flattering, he was genuinely shocked. Lin Moyu's mastery was likely on par with the heavenly formation Tao Lord. The formation covered the sky, the 100 formation tower's ultimate formation anchored the ground. The Tao flowers swayed, their power feeding the formation. On the Tao flowers, tiny spirits appeared, flower spirits, formed from the will of the fallen great Tao Lords. Lin Moyu said, "Honored ancestors, I, Lin Moyu, borrow your will for a moment, please forgive me." He shouted, "Suppress." The two formations resonated, sealing the space completely. This was Burial Tao Valley, the realm of heroic spirits. Only with their help could it be sealed. Once sealed, not even a soul could escape. The laws of heaven and earth were weakened here. Even if the god of light self-destructed, reincarnation was uncertain. Sensing the change, the god of light roared, "Kid, the suppression formation won't save you." His aura soared, a beam of light erupted, and countless undead servants were annihilated. The god of light turned into a ball of light, exploding like a blazing sun. 4054. 4054. Chapter 4054. The Fall of a Great Tao Lord. The god of light was about to self-destruct and reincarnate, but Lin Moyu didn't think it would be that simple. Someone who had lived for countless years and was only half a step from eternity wouldn't rely on just one method of survival. Such an old monster was bound to have other ways to save himself, which was why he so decisively chose to self-destruct. Brilliant light surged. The self-destruction of a great Tao Lord was unimaginably powerful. Countless undead servants were annihilated in the light, returning to the Great Thousand World to be reborn in the Chaos region. The Space Tao sprite appeared before Lin Moyu, tearing space to create a barrier that blocked most of the blast. The Sword Tao sprite also appeared, transforming into a giant sword to shield against the aftermath. The Lord of Darkness benefited as well, getting a front row seat to a great Tao Lord's self-destruction, a spectacle not seen in 1,000,000 years. He watched, eyes gleaming, secretly hoping for the god of light's death, since only then could he truly live in peace. Lin Moyu suddenly said calmly, "What a pity," he said, "one sentence too many." The Lord of Darkness wasn't stupid and immediately caught the implication. "Taoist Lin, you mean he has another trick up his sleeve?" Lin Moyu smiled. A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. An old monster like him couldn't possibly have only one backup plan. With that, Lin Moyu took out the cause-seeking ring, infusing it with soul power to seek cause and effect. The Lord of Darkness recognized it and gasped, a cause and effect treasure. Such treasures were rare, and the one Lin Moyu held was of a level the Lord of Darkness had never seen. He'd encountered many powerful treasures like the 100 Formation Tower of the Heavenly Formation Tao Lord, but this ring seemed a tier above even those. He couldn't gauge its true power, but instinctively knew it was terrifying. Lin Moyu activated the ring, unleashing invisible causal power that ignored the God of Light's self-destruction and pierced to its core. After only 2 seconds, Lin Moyu smiled. I've found it. With the ring's help, he had located the God of Light's backup plan. The Lord of Darkness's heart skipped a beat. So he really did have another way out. No wonder he self-destructed so decisively. Just as he thought this, Lin Moyu's body exploded into pieces right in front of him. The Lord of Darkness was shocked. Had Lin Moyu really died? He quickly realized it was the ring's backlash that caused Lin Moyu's death. The ring was so powerful that even a great Tao Lord could barely withstand its backlash. Even an Eternal would have to think twice before using it. Instantly, the Lord of Darkness lost all interest in the ring. A flash of purple light, and Lin Moyu's body and soul reformed, instantly revived. Alive again, the Lord of Darkness wondered if he was seeing things. How could anyone come back from that? Lin Moyu didn't care what the Lord of Darkness was thinking. He had now found the God of Light's backup plan through the ring, which was still operating. Having already endured the backlash, further use was no problem. The God of Light's self-destruction was fading, and the ring shot out a beam of light, piercing the void and displaying a distant scene, not a projection but a forced spatial connection across billions of miles. The cause and effect Great Tao was mysterious, with unimaginable abilities. The ring shot out several more beams, each connecting to a different place, 3 in total: the origin ancestral land, the real world, and the soul void. Lin Moyu murmured, a great Tao Lord is hard to kill. As long as their Tao exists, they can be reborn through it. The God of Light set up a backup in the light Great Tao itself. If he self-destructed, he could be reborn there, with only minor loss of cultivation, and it wouldn't count as desertion. He probably has a way to hide, avoiding the battlefield rules, just as he did in the real world for countless years. If rebirth in the Tao fails, he has 2 more backups, one in the real world and one in the soul void. Whether heaven and earth would consider that desertion is unclear, but he must have his reasons. Lin Moyu's words were partly for himself, partly for the Lord of Darkness. He wanted to show that no matter how many tricks you had, if you opposed him, you would die. He continued, no matter the backup, his confidence lies in the light Great Tao. Without it, he's finished. Eternals aren't truly unkillable, it's just that their Taos are in the land of return, where few can reach, let alone destroy them. Great Tao Lords, however, have their Taos in the origin ancestral land, making them vulnerable. After he finished, origin aura surged, and Lin Moyu's cultivation soared right before the Lord of Darkness. He broke through the Tao Lord realm and surpassed the eternal level. World-ending palm. Lin Moyu struck 3 times at the 3 regions connected by the ring. 3 massive palm prints appeared in each region. The Lord of Darkness felt a chill. If that palm hit him, he'd die. What kind of technique is this? How can it be so terrifying? He dared not speak, only watched silently. Each region saw a giant palm print. In the real world and the soul void, the God of Light's backup was destroyed instantly. In the origin ancestral land, Lin Moyu's world-ending palm slammed into the light Great Tao itself. For a second, they were locked in a stalemate, then cracks spread across the light Great Tao. Lin Moyu's strike actually fractured its core. The Lord of Darkness watched, eyes wide, not even noticing Lin Moyu's body shattering again and reforming in purple light. The palm print continued pressing down, its power battering the light Great Tao. The God of Light's phantom appeared, face full of terror, as if screaming, no. Even a great Tao Lord panics before death. Their Tao heart shatters, and all escape routes are cut off. Cracks spread, and after a few seconds, with a thunderous boom, the light Great Tao shattered, destroying all the God of Light's backups. The God of Light was utterly annihilated. With the Tao destroyed, the entire battlefield shook as if in an earthquake. Infinite karma swept over Lin Moyu like a storm. At the same time, a pair of enormous eyes appeared in the void. 4055. 4055. Chapter 4055. Bring down the punishment, I'll take it. There are billions of worlds and countless cultivators in the universe. Among them, those who cultivate the light great Tao are innumerable. Lin Moyu shattered the light great Tao's true body, which was tantamount to destroying the entire Tao. Instantly, all those who cultivated the light great Tao lost their foundation. With the Tao gone, they could no longer cultivate, and their cultivation suffered immense losses. All the resulting karma was attributed to Lin Moyu. This karma was massive, akin to the myriad resentments generated when a world is destroyed. Lin Moyu became entangled in the resentment and karmic ties of countless beings. But Lin Moyu didn't care. With a single thought, endless power of faith surged from the great thousand worlds. He used this power of faith to offset the karmic resentment. He had the confidence, so he wasn't afraid. The shattering of the Tao's true body caused the origin ancestral land to tremble, something Lin Moyu had already anticipated. He had even predicted the appearance of the candle dragon. The candle dragon's giant eyes swept over, and the Lord of Darkness shuddered, immediately bowing, "Greetings, Lord Candle Dragon." The candle dragon ignored him and stared at Lin Moyu. "Do you know what you've done?" Lin Moyu replied, "I know exactly what I've done. He tried to kill me, so I killed him and made sure there would be no future threat." The candle dragon's voice was cold. "I'm asking why you shattered the Tao's true body." Lin Moyu said, "I said I wanted to end the threat forever." He was the lord of the light great Tao and had set up a backup within the Tao itself, allowing him to revive. To kill him, I had to shatter the Tao's true body. Lin Moyu spoke with conviction, making it clear to the candle dragon that the person was dead, the Tao's true body was shattered, and he had taken on the karma, so what now? The candle dragon didn't care about the god of light's life or death, but about the shattering of the Tao's true body. His voice was low. "Do you know what kind of punishment you must bear for shattering a Tao's true body?" Lin Moyu said, "Then bring down the punishment. I'll take it." At this moment, Lin Moyu was extremely resolute. If the candle dragon wanted to punish him, so be it, he'd take it all. Lin Moyu had already anticipated what the punishment would be. With his current strength, he could handle it. As long as he could kill the god of light and eliminate all future threats, a little punishment was nothing. The candle dragon snorted, "I know you're not afraid of punishment, so there won't be any. Instead, you must, within 100 years, kill 1,000,000 Tao wild beasts and 1,000 Tao wild beast kings as compensation." Lin Moyu agreed instantly, "No problem." The candle dragon said, "Listen carefully, you must do it yourself, not together with other great Tao lords." Lin Moyu repeated, "I heard you clearly. No problem, and I won't even need the full time." "Good. If you fail." He didn't finish, but the implication was clear: serious consequences. Lin Moyu knew the candle dragon probably couldn't do much to him, which was why he spoke that way. Lin Moyu said, "Since you're here, I have something to ask you." The candle dragon snorted, "I'm going to cultivate the Tao. Whatever you want can wait until you've killed the Tao wild beasts." "How do I find you then?" Lin Moyu asked. "I will come to you myself," the candle dragon replied. Lin Moyu didn't press further. "All right, go cultivate your Tao." The candle dragon snorted and vanished as his eye closed. Once he left, Burial Tao Valley returned to normal. The Lord of Darkness finally breathed a sigh of relief, now looking at Lin Moyu with a new level of fear. Lin Moyu's methods were far more terrifying than he'd imagined. He could destroy a Tao's true body, use a cause and effect treasure to connect the real and virtual worlds, and annihilate all of the God of Light's backups. Now the God of Light was truly dead, with no chance of revival. Even with the candle dragon present, Lin Moyu showed no fear and could speak as an equal. To great Tao lords, the candle dragon was a being even higher than the Eternals. Clearly, the candle dragon was also quite polite to Lin Moyu, not displaying much majesty. Whether in strength or status, Lin Moyu now inspired awe in the Lord of Darkness. When Lin Moyu's gaze swept over him, the Lord of Darkness involuntarily shivered, not daring to meet his eyes. He said quietly, "Taoist Lin, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. When you return to the Tao Lord Hall, tell the Heavenly Formation Tao Lord that I have the 100 Formation Tower. I'll bring it back later and have a chat with him." Lin Moyu's tone was calm, but the Lord of Darkness felt as if Lin Moyu was about to cause trouble for the Heavenly Formation Tao Lord. The Lord of Darkness quickly replied, "Yes, I'll be sure to pass on your message." He turned into a stream of light and left, not wanting to stay any longer or deal with Lin Moyu. Being around him was simply too stressful. Being able to settle things with Lin Moyu was the best outcome. If he could do it over, he'd never have become Lin Moyu's enemy, he'd have let Lin Moyu do whatever he wanted. After the Lord of Darkness left, Lin Moyu looked around the plain. The tremors in the heaven and earth battlefield gradually subsided, and the candle dragon began repairing the light great Tao. Although the Tao's true body was shattered, the fragments remained. Repairing it wouldn't take too long, nor would it require a new evolution or endless years. Lin Moyu strolled across the plain, his feet not touching the ground but stepping on the Tao flowers. The Tao flowers glowed faintly, supporting him as if they were the ground. This was the core of Burial Tao Valley. Hundreds of great Tao lords had given up the chance of rebirth or reincarnation, choosing to remain here. There must have been a compelling reason. After death, their indomitable will became Tao flowers, blooming and existing eternally. Lin Moyu wanted to find out why those great Tao lords chose to die here rather than retreat. He walked around the valley several times but found nothing. Then he slowly rose into the air and observed from above, taking in the entire plain. The Tao flowers bloomed eternally, each with a different color, representing different attributes, different Taos, and different great Tao lords. They intertwined, as if replaying the scene of the great Tao lords shedding blood here, their blood mixing until it was impossible to tell whose was whose, until the Tao flowers bloomed in all colors. As he looked at the interwoven colors, Lin Moyu began to notice something. The flowers of each color actually formed divine runes. Connecting flowers of the same color created a rune. There were hundreds of colors, hundreds of runes. These runes overlapped and intertwined, forming an extremely complex, three-dimensional divine rune. This was no ordinary rune, it was a grand formation. Forming a formation from single runes is a dream for many formation masters, and here, it had been realized. Lin Moyu deduced that among the great Tao lords who fell here, one was the heavenly formation Tao lord. 4056. 4056. Chapter 4056. The essence of the filth tide. Lin Moyu condensed a divine rune at his fingertip, drawing inspiration from the runes interwoven by the Tao flowers. He released a not too complex rune, which grew as it descended, eventually covering the entire plain. Some of the Tao flowers responded, glowing brightly in resonance with the rune. As the rune landed, it was absorbed by some Tao flowers, making them even more radiant. Lin Moyu faintly heard a special sound, as if a sigh from an ancient existence echoing across the ages. It was the sigh of a great Tao lord who had fallen here. The sigh carried a sense of comfort. After so many years, someone had finally understood this place. To truly comprehend Burial Tao Valley was extremely difficult. Ordinary great Tao lords couldn't do it, perhaps only the heavenly formation Tao lord, with mastery over formations, had a chance, and even then, only with the right fate. Not everyone would think to question why those Tao lords chose to die here rather than retreat. Lin Moyu, by reasoning backward from this, suspected something was wrong and studied it carefully, finally uncovering the answer. He released another rune, slightly different from the first, matching another color of Tao flower. Again, a sigh of comfort echoed in his soul. Lin Moyu continued to draw runes, each one covering a different area and resonating with different Tao flowers. Each time, the sighs from ancient existences grew stronger, carrying both relief and a sense of their helplessness at the time. Eventually, Lin Moyu completed 621 runes, illuminating the entire Burial Tao Valley in brilliance. This meant that 620 great Tao lords had once died defending this place. After all the runes were drawn and all the Tao flowers lit, the valley did not change further. Lin Moyu frowned, realizing there was still something he hadn't done. The runes were complete, but forming a formation from a single rune was extremely difficult. Even Lin Moyu hadn't achieved it yet. These runes could be combined in countless ways, but finding the right combination to form a formation was no easy task. He hovered in the air, thinking hard, scrutinizing every detail, searching for the laws of heaven and earth. Whether runes or formations, everything must follow those laws. To form a formation from runes, they too must operate according to these rules. Although the runes appeared to be on a single plane, Lin Moyu realized there must be distinctions of up, down, inside, and out. He memorized them all and simulated combinations in his mind, waving his hands to test different arrangements. Again and again he experimented, failing repeatedly, reminiscent of his early days learning divine runes. Despite the setbacks, he believed he was close to success. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Moyu tried countless times, always falling short, but he felt he was on the verge of a breakthrough. Then, an unusual aura entered Burial Tao Valley, interrupting his thoughts. A filth tide. With a thought, Lin Moyu checked outside the valley and saw a new filth tide approaching. This one was much larger than the last, likely to be followed by an even greater beast tide. If a major beast tide occurred, tens of thousands or even over 100,000 Dao wild beasts might appear, with dozens of Dao wild beast kings. For the great Dao lords, it would be a massive battle. Perfect, I'll block a wave here. Lin Moyu decided to intercept some of the Dao wild beasts himself, both to fulfill part of his promise to the Candle Dragon and to ease the burden on the other great Dao lords. With the will of so many Dao lords guarding it, the filth tide could not enter Burial Dao Valley. Lin Moyu went outside to experience the filth tide firsthand. Last time, he'd wanted to do this, but with Shengxin present, it wasn't convenient. Now, alone, he entered the filth tide and let the impurities wash over him. The wind of the filth tide, carrying impurities, passed through his body and into his soul, affecting his very spirit. Almost nothing could resist the filth tide, only a firm Dao heart. The filth tide itself had no attack power. If one's Dao heart was strong, it passed without effect. But if the Dao heart was weak, the filth would pollute the soul, causing injury or even a loss of cultivation, possibly knocking one out of the great Dao Lord realm. For Lin Moyu, the filth tide was nothing. His Dao heart was unshakable, and the filth couldn't touch him. He focused on understanding the nature of the impurities. Standing in the filth tide, letting it penetrate his soul, he gradually gained insight. The filth tide was composed of the impurities from countless great Dao's waste generated during their evolution. This was its origin, but Lin Moyu sensed something deeper. Within the filth tide were countless fragments of thought and consciousness. These fragments were the result of countless cultivators interacting with the Daos as they cultivated. Every time someone comprehended a Dao, their thoughts would interact with it, and some of their stray thoughts would be projected into the Dao itself. The deeper the cultivation, the deeper this interaction. With so many cultivators, the stray thoughts accumulated, causing the Dao to generate more and more waste. This waste, combined with the inherent impurities from the Dao's evolution, formed the filth. To protect their purity, the Daos expelled these impurities, which all gathered together to form the filth tide, eventually giving rise to Dao wild beasts. When the impurities reached an extreme, they would transform. The filth tide would birth the souls of Dao wild beasts, while the remaining impurities would become their bodies. From what he'd seen in the ancient origin energy within the origin mountains, Lin Moyu deduced that as the world grew stronger and more cultivators appeared, the number and evolution speed of Dao wild beasts would only increase. If the great Dao lords couldn't keep up, the balance would eventually tip, and the Dao wild beasts might one day break through, invade the origin ancestral land, and devour all the Daos. That would be the end of this world, the collapse of the Daos and the extinction of all things. This was almost an unsolvable problem, a natural result of the world's evolution. The only solution would be for the world to have a master, someone to actively control and guide it, preventing it from heading toward destruction. The filth tide lasted 5 days before dissipating. Immediately afterward, countless Dao wild beasts charged in from the distance. 4057. 4057. Chapter 4057. People from Two Worlds. The Dao wild beasts surged from all directions toward the heaven and earth battlefield. The area where Lin Moyu stood only faced a portion of them. Scanning the scene, Lin Moyu murmured, 4,000 Dao wild beasts, 3 Dao wild beast kings, not many. Looks like I'll have to intercept some from other areas as well. With a thought, a vast army of undead servants swept out in all directions, intercepting Dao wild beasts elsewhere. Lin Moyu didn't block all of them. He intercepted about half. Over 50,000 ordinary Dao wild beasts and 32 Dao wild beast kings. As for the rest, he left them for the other great Dao lords to handle. If he wanted, Lin Moyu could have stopped all the Dao wild beasts, but he chose not to. Some things were best left to the great Dao lords. There was no need to reveal all his strength. The undead servants struck first, unleashing powerful attacks and beginning a massacre. Dao wild beasts with physical bodies were indeed strong, but still no match for a great Dao lord. Lin Moyu's undead servants were slightly stronger than the Dao wild beasts, and with their overwhelming numbers, the beasts he targeted were quickly slaughtered. More than half died in moments. Each Dao wild beast king received special attention, beset by thousands of undead servants. Lin Moyu didn't even need to intervene himself, he simply watched as the battles unfolded. In less than half an hour, the undead army wiped out tens of thousands of Dao wild beasts. This beast tide, which should have been a major threat, was handled almost single-handedly by Lin Moyu. After dealing with the Dao wild beasts, Lin Moyu returned to Burial Dao Valley to continue his research. Inside the battlefield's formation, the great Dao lords had already assembled, fully prepared. The battle sovereign maintained the formation and monitored the situation outside. When the Dao wild beasts appeared, his voice rang out, "It's a major beast tide, about 60,000 in number, with over 60 Dao wild beast kings. Prepare for battle." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Someone laughed, "Good, only 60,000. That's not so bad. This beast tide is weaker than expected. Let's kill them quickly and get back to RT. Kill, kill, kill. Don't let a single one escape." The great Dao lords attacked, launching a fierce battle against the Dao wild beasts. They didn't realize that more than a third of the beasts had already been intercepted by Lin Moyu, making this beast tide much easier to handle. After a day of fierce fighting, all the Dao wild beasts were slain. A few great Dao lords were injured, and Shengxin healed them. Before the battle, Shengxin had given them pills, but such things were kept for emergencies and not used unless absolutely necessary. The battle sovereign observed the world and said quietly, "The next filth tide will erupt in 23 days. It's likely to be another major beast tide, so be ready." Lin Moyu remained in Burial Dao Valley, focused on his study of formations. Whenever a filth tide erupted, he would pause his research to intercept some Dao wild beasts outside the valley. If it was only a small beast tide, he'd just watch and leave. Only during major tides would he act. This greatly reduced the pressure on the great Dao lords. Every beast tide was at least a third weaker. Over time, they noticed something odd. Why were the recent beast tides so much smaller than before? Beast tides shouldn't be this weak. But they couldn't find the reason. Only the Lord of Darkness had a vague suspicion it was related to Lin Moyu, but he dared not say anything. 10 years later, Shengxin sought out the Lord of Darkness. Facing Shengxin, the Lord of Darkness was polite. "Taoist Shengxin, what brings you here?" Shengxin asked. "Taoist Darkness, do you know where Taoist Lin is?" She knew there had been conflict between the Lord of Darkness, the God of Light, and Lin Moyu. But for the past 10 years, the Lord of Darkness had acted alone, and the God of Light had not been seen. Lin Moyu, too, had vanished. Finally, she couldn't help but ask. The Lord of Darkness replied, "I haven't seen Taoist Lin in 10 years. 10 years ago, he was in Burial Dao Valley. I don't know if he's still there." Shengxin frowned. "Taoist Lin has been in Burial Dao Valley for 10 years. The Lord of Darkness nodded. "He seemed to be researching something. I didn't dare disturb him, so I left." The Lord of Darkness's wording struck Shengxin as odd. What did he mean by, "didn't dare disturb"? It sounded like he was in awe of Lin Moyu, even though they'd never been on good terms. Shengxin was kind-hearted, but not naive. She realized something was amiss. The God of Light's absence over the past decade might be related. Shengxin immediately decided to visit Burial Dao Valley. The Lord of Darkness asked, "Are you planning to go to Burial Dao Valley?" Shengxin nodded. "Yes, I want to check on Taoist Lin, he's my friend, and I'm worried about him." The Lord of Darkness shook his head. "No need. With Taoist Lin's strength, he could face a beast tide alone and still be safe. As long as he doesn't enter the inner battlefield, he's in no danger." Shengxin trusted Lin Moyu's strength, but not seeing it for herself, she still worried. She bid farewell and went to the edge of the formation. "Grandpa Battle Sovereign, I want to go out for a bit." The Battle Sovereign's phantom appeared. "Where are you going?" "Taoist Lin hasn't returned in 10 years. I heard he's in Burial Dao Valley, I want to check on him." The Battle Sovereign hesitated. "He left 10 years ago, saying he was going to Burial Dao Valley. Not long after, I sensed a great Dao Lord self-destruct. The Lord of Darkness and the God of Light left before him, but only the Lord of Darkness returned. I don't know which one fell. I didn't tell you because, whoever it was a private matter. I had no right to interfere, so I forgot about it." Forgot? A great Dao Lord turned formation spirit, forgetting such a thing? Shengxin didn't believe it, sensing something was wrong but unable to say what. Out of trust for the Battle Sovereign, she didn't press further and asked him to open the formation for her. The Battle Sovereign opened a passage and warned, "The next filth tide is in 7 days. Go quickly and return soon." Shengxin nodded. "Don't worry, Grandpa, I understand." She left through the passage and hurried to Burial Dao Valley. Within the formation, the Battle Sovereign's eyes appeared, watching Shengxin leave. His kindly gaze vanished, replaced by a trace of red light, gradually turning sharp. Shangxin was unaware, rushing to Burial Dao Valley and entering the plain. On the plain, countless Dao flowers bloomed in all colors, and the valley brimmed with vibrant life. She witnessed a breathtaking sight. A giant divine rune descended from the sky, covering the entire valley and activating the Dao flowers. In the sky, Lin Moyu stood like a celestial being, drawing mysterious runes, his entire body glowing, as if merging with Burial Dao Valley itself. Shangxin's soul trembled. In that moment, she felt an infinite distance between herself and Lin Moyu. A special feeling deep in her soul shattered. She realized they were people from two different worlds. 4058. 4058. Chapter 4058. Enlightenment in the Filth Tide. They were not people from the same world. Sooner or later, Lin Moyu would soar higher, becoming an existence out of reach. If she tried to force herself to keep up, she would be torn apart by the winds of the heavens. It was best to stop here, to turn back before the cliff, perhaps not a bad thing at all. This subtle shift in her heart also affected Shangxin. A smile appeared in her eyes, and with her feelings for Lin Moyu set aside, Shangxin realized that being friends with him was actually quite nice. Her heart was simple and pure, without much scheming, and she acted selflessly. That was why she was respected by so many great Dao lords. She did not disturb Lin Moyu, just quietly watched him. Lin Moyu continued drawing divine runes, constantly illuminating the Dao flowers in Burial Dao Valley. When Shangxin flew into the air, she finally understood what Lin Moyu was doing. We never realized after all these years that the Dao flowers contained such a secret. Although she didn't understand the runes, she could sense that there must be hidden mysteries within them. Over the years, they had come and gone countless times, always thinking Burial Dao Valley was just a relic left by their predecessors. Taoist Lin really is clever, Shangxin thought to herself. She didn't think the other great Dao lords were stupid. Lin Moyu was just too smart. Lin Moyu's visual displays were dazzling, and even if Shangxin didn't fully understand, she could still appreciate their brilliance. The runes contained a special charm, each one imbued with a great Dao, mesmerizing Shangxin. In the blink of an eye, several days passed, and the filth tide arrived. Shangxin was oblivious to it, already lost in the runes woven by the Dao flowers. Lin Moyu suddenly stopped, looked at Shangxin, and sent her a message. Taoist Shangxin, you can wake up now. He had naturally noticed Shangxin's arrival. Receiving the message, Shangxin woke from her immersion in the Dao, a slight blush on her face. I got lost in it without realizing. Lin Moyu smiled. That's normal. Taoist Shangxin is close to the Dao, so you can sense the Dao charm within. Did you feel your predecessor's presence here? Shangxin's expression grew serious. I did. Over 600 Dao lords had fallen here, including the former Lord of the Life Great Dao, Shangxin's predecessor. If that person hadn't died, Shangxin would never have become the Lord of the Life Great Dao. There can only be one Dao Lord per Dao, and the successor cannot ascend unless the predecessor steps down. Shangxin felt many emotions, but mostly regret for her predecessor. Lin Moyu said, your predecessor left her insights into the Dao here. They may help you. After this beast tide, I'll help you experience them. Shangxin's eyes lit up. Thank you, Taoist Lin. Lin Moyu smiled. No need to be polite. For now, the filth tide is here, let's go observe it. Shangxin was puzzled. Why go into the filth tide? Lin Moyu replied, you'll understand when we get there. Shangxin trusted Lin Moyu and followed him out of Burial Dao Valley, facing the filth tide directly. The filth tide had arrived. Impurities transformed from Dao residue danced in the air, wave after wave crashing down. Lin Moyu stood calmly in the filth tide, while Shangxin was a bit nervous. A faint light surrounded her, protecting her from the filth. She had entered filth tides before, as had all great Dao lords, and knew the filth could pollute the soul and harm cultivation. Using Dao power could resist it to some extent. Lin Moyu said, don't use Dao power. Try using your Dao heart to resist. Shangxin chose to trust him, withdrew her Dao power, and relied on her Dao heart. Her heart was pure and resolute, so the filth tide couldn't pollute her, though she still felt a trace of unease. Lin Moyu said, there's a great secret hidden in the filth tide. You must comprehend it with your heart. If you understand, you may one day open the gate to eternity. Shangxin instinctively asked, what secret? Lin Moyu replied, the secret lies in the tiny lights born from the filth tide. Within the filth tide, tiny lights constantly emerge. These were the souls of Dao wild beasts. Compared to the chaotic filth, the souls born from it were pure and untouched. Following Lin Moyu's advice, Shengxin watched the lights, but felt little. She didn't doubt him, only thinking she wasn't sensitive enough. Lin Moyu's voice sounded in her ear. All things in heaven and earth are a balance of yin and yang, without exception. The filth tide can pollute the soul, but it can also temper the Tao heart. Have you ever wondered why the souls born in the filth tide are so pure, and what that means? What does it mean? Shengxin, being intelligent, caught a hint from Lin Moyu's words. Lin Moyu continued, if you plant a tree, you need to water it and give it sunlight. But too much water drowns it, too much sun scorches it. Taoist Shengxin, you cultivate the life great Tao you can heal and save, but if the life Tao reaches its extreme, it can become poison. Shengxin's eyes lit up. You mean, when something reaches its extreme, it turns into its opposite? Lin Moyu smiled. Not exactly, but close. Everything in the world is like this, which is why the purest souls are born in the filth tide. Tao wild beasts have the filthiest bodies and the purest souls a profound truth revealed by heaven and earth. Shengxin fell into deep contemplation. Lin Moyu's words opened a door for her, showing her another world. A ball of white light appeared in her palm, filled with life force and vitality. The light grew stronger, the life force reaching its peak. Shengxin gathered all her Tao power into her palm. If this light exploded in a world, every living thing would be bathed in the life Tao and all injuries healed. But Shengxin continued to gather life Tao power, pushing past the limit. After a moment, a sound like a bursting balloon rang out. The light shattered. Instead of life force, a terrifying, destructive power burst out, filled with poison. Below the Tao realm, a touch would kill. Even great Tao lords would be gravely threatened. Shengxin was shocked. This is the reversal at the extreme, but I can't control this power. The deadly poison she had created spread outward, some of it rushing toward Lin Moyu. Shengxin cried, Taoist Lin, be careful. Lin Moyu was unconcerned. With a wave of his hand, the power of death surged out, instantly corroding all the deadly life force. 4059. Chapter 4059, Dislike leaving loose ends. Lin Moyu said, you've just grasped the basics. It's normal that you can't control it, yet you'll get there with time. But being able to comprehend this principle so quickly shows how deep your foundation is, Taoist Shengxin. Comprehension is just the beginning, true mastery and control is a long road ahead. Not everyone can realize this principle as Shengxin did. Her Tao heart is too pure, and the purer it is, the easier it is to understand. Some great Tao lords overthink things, and the more complicated their Tao heart, the harder it is to achieve enlightenment. Lin Moyu was just a guide. How far Shengxin could go depended on her. As for whether Shengxin would share this method, Lin Moyu didn't mind. If she did, it might even strengthen the great Tao lords as a whole. While Shengxin continued her enlightenment, Lin Moyu also immersed himself in the filth tide, observing the birth of wild beast souls. What he focused on was different from Shengxin. He had long since mastered the concept of extremes reversing, so he was watching for origins, for how souls are born. The soul is the root of all life. If one could truly understand the origin of souls, one could understand this world and, following the clues, ultimately uncover the world's deepest secrets. But this process was not easy. Lin Moyu had observed many filth tides over the past 10 years and had only gained a tiny bit of insight. The road is long and arduous. He still had a long way to go. After 5 days, the filth tide receded. Shengxin asked, the filth tide is over and the beast tide is coming. Taoist Lin, are you returning to Burial Tao Valley or to the formation? She was planning to return inside the formation to help the other great Tao lords resist the beast tide. If Lin Moyu didn't want to go back, he could stay in the valley, which was safe thanks to the will of the fallen predecessors. The wild beasts wouldn't enter. Lin Moyu smiled, I'm not going back to Burial Tao Valley, and you don't need to return either. Shengxin clearly didn't understand what he meant, but then remembered the Lord of Darkness had said that even if Lin Moyu faced a beast tide alone, he'd be fine. Lin Moyu looked to the horizon. This filth tide lasted 5 days. The coming beast tide will have about 100,000 wild beasts. With a thought, space twisted and vast numbers of undead servants flew out in all directions. After facing dozens of beast tides over the past decade, Lin Moyu had gained experience. By the duration and strength of the filth tide, he could estimate the strength of the beast tide. There was a connection between the two. Even if he didn't know the root cause, it didn't stop him from making accurate predictions. Shengxin trusted Lin Moyu and stayed. She had seen the undead servants before and had thought they were just puppets, strong but only at the Tao Lord level, not quite enough to face wild beasts. But now, she saw that these undead servants had auras close to great Tao Lords. As Lin Moyu's cultivation rose, so did theirs. They were far more than simple puppets. She was tactful and didn't ask further. These years, the beast tides we've faced have all been weaker than before. Is it because you've been blocking them here? Lin Moyu smiled. I've just done what I can to ease the burden on the other great Tao Lords. So it was him, Shengxin asked. Have you seen the God of Light? Lin Moyu replied, yes. He's fallen. I killed him. Shengxin was shocked. You killed the God of Light? Yes. With confirmation, Shengxin said quietly, 10 years ago, the heaven and earth battlefield shook. Was it because the God of Light fell? Lin Moyu shook his head. No, it was because I shattered the Light Great Tao's true body. Great Tao Lords are hard to kill if you don't destroy the Tao's true body. It's almost impossible. I never like leaving loose ends. If I strike, I make sure it's thorough. The fact that he could shatter a Tao's true body once again redefined Shengxin's understanding of Lin Moyu's power. The most troublesome thing about wild beasts was always their numbers. The Beast Emperor was blocked by the Eternals, so the great Tao Lords didn't have to face him. But now, against Lin Moyu, even the numbers advantage of the wild beasts vanished. His undead servants overwhelmed the wild beasts, and even the beast kings couldn't escape. Watching the battles, Shengxin saw the wild beasts grow fewer and fewer. She bowed to Lin Moyu. On behalf of all the great Tao Lords in the battlefield, thank you, Taoist Lin. With Lin Moyu holding the line, their pressure had been greatly reduced for 10 years. Even when someone was injured, it was only minor. Some even joked that the wild beasts must be nearly extinct, there were so few. They never imagined someone was blocking half of them here. The battle ended quickly. Lin Moyu collected the beast essences and returned to Burial Dao Valley. Taoist Shengxin, let's go back. Shengxin agreed and followed. The remaining wild beasts, even if they reached the battlefield, were no threat. The great Tao Lords all had her pills, which were more than enough. She was also curious what Lin Moyu was doing in Burial Dao Valley for 10 years. Before she could ask, Lin Moyu spoke. Back then, 621 great Tao Lords died here fighting the wild beasts without retreat. I figured there must be a secret here. In searching for it, I found that many left their inheritances hidden in the divine runes, waiting for later generations to discover. I've already collected some, and am still working on the rest. The secret here is almost unraveled. Shengxin asked, should I leave for now? Lin Moyu shook his head. Since I've told you, I never intended to drive you away. Whatever secrets there are, we'll discover together. Aren't you curious why so many great Tao Lords chose to die here rather than retreat? Shengxin was indeed curious and didn't mention leaving again. What will you do with the inheritances you find? I'll copy some and give them to the great Tao Lords on the battlefield. Maybe they'll benefit from the wisdom of their predecessors. The rest, I'll take home. There are still many friends and family in my world. This was understandable. Lin Moyu didn't value inheritances for Taos that already had a Tao Lord. No matter how well someone cultivated, they couldn't become a Tao Lord if the position was filled. But for Taos with no current Lord, people from the origin continent would have a chance. He planned to make most inheritances available to all, with only a few reserved for his own people. He would not let these inheritances be buried and forgotten. Back in the valley, Lin Moyu said, I'll activate a Tao now. Experience the path of your predecessor. He drew a divine rune, activating a cluster of Tao flowers. The inheritance left by Shengxin's predecessor, the former Lord of the Life Great Tao, reappeared in the world. 4060. Chapter 4060. Breaking the Formation, Zan Junzi. Shengxin was immersed in her comprehension of the Tao, absorbing the insights left by her predecessor and transforming them into her own path. Lin Moyu continued drawing divine runes, which had become many times more complex than those he created a decade ago. The runes were nested and fused together. What appeared to be a single rune actually contained dozens, even hundreds of different runes within. The entire rune represented a great Tao, left behind by the former Heavenly Formation Tao Lord who had fallen here. Compared to the current Heavenly Formation Tao Lord, the one who perished here was even stronger, with a deeper understanding of divine runes and formations. Yet, Lin Moyu felt that even this predecessor was not his equal. The grand formation of divine runes left behind was ultimately solved by Lin Moyu. Though complex, it was not truly difficult for him. For several years, Lin Moyu and Shengxin remained in Burial Dao Valley. Whenever a filth tide arrived, they would enter it to comprehend their respective Daos. Afterwards, Lin Moyu would block the beast tide, so the battlefield faced almost no pressure. Shengxin also returned once to reassure the battle sovereign that she was safe. Finally, in Lin Moyu's 23rd year at Burial Dao Valley, the formation within the valley was completely unraveled. A divine rune gleamed brilliantly in Lin Moyu's palm. Shengxin was dazzled, her eyes shining. This rune seems to encompass the entire Burial Dao Valley. Within the rune, she could see every inch of the valley and every Dao flower. If the rune were enlarged, it could merge completely with the valley itself. It was hard to imagine a single rune could achieve this. Lin Moyu said, that heavenly formation Dao Lord refined the entire Burial Dao Valley into a grand formation, merging the Daos of 621 great Dao Lords and using their battle will to drive it, ensuring their fighting spirit would never fade and leaving behind their inheritances. All of it ultimately converged into a single grand divine rune, his legacy. Truly a grand feat, that heavenly formation Dao Lord was far stronger than the current one. Lin Moyu spoke softly, then pushed the intricate rune forward. As it descended, it rapidly expanded until it matched the size of Burial Dao Valley, perfectly overlapping with it. The Dao flowers in the valley resonated in unison, and countless phantoms appeared atop the blossoms. The sages, Shengxin said solemnly, these phantoms were the fallen great Dao Lords, the sages and heroes of the world. The phantoms all bowed to Lin Moyu, as if expressing their gratitude. Lin Moyu returned the gesture, greeting them across time and space. At that moment, heaven and earth fortune descended. Over the years, Lin Moyu had accumulated much fortune from slaying so many Dao wild beasts. Now, recognized by the great Dao Lords, even more fortune poured down on a massive scale. Lin Moyu sensed that he might be able to knock on the gate of eternity. But he also felt it wasn't quite safe yet, if he could gain just a bit more. His immortality great Dao was already in the land of return, and as its Dao Lord, it was easier for him to become eternal than for others. If he could open the gate, he'd instantly become an eternal. Other Dao Lords, by contrast, had to open the gate and send their Dao inside, facing a trial that was extremely dangerous, often resulting in death. Many Dao Lords had fallen at this step. Lin Moyu knew it wasn't time yet, he needed more accumulation before truly opening the gate. He was well aware that his immortality great Dao was unique, and something interesting might happen when the time came. He accepted the sages, salute and watched as the entire Burial Dao Valley was enveloped. The valley itself was a formation, and the way to activate it was to create an identical formation, thus fulfilling the legacy of the former heavenly formation Dao Lord. After countless years, the ancestor's last wish was finally fulfilled by him. Let's see what's here, Lin Moyu said quietly. Shengxin joined him, and together they looked down at the earth. Burial Dao Valley was undergoing dramatic change. The outer layer of the origin mountains forming the valley peeled away, sinking with a roar. The ground shook, and even the sky trembled. The origin mountains encasing the valley were not just two peaks, but two entire mountain ranges, now rapidly descending. The center of the valley split open, and something buried for countless years finally emerged. At that moment, a phantom appeared, a long-robed, immortal-looking elder who bowed to Lin Moyu. Old Taoist Zan Junzi greets you, Taoist friend. Zan Junzi, you're the heavenly formation Dao Lord who fell here. Shengxin exclaimed. Lin Moyu was surprised as well, he hadn't realized a remnant soul was left here, hidden underground where even his undead eyes couldn't penetrate due to the special nature of the battlefield's earth. Only now, with the formation activated and the ground split open, did the remnant soul appear. Lin Moyu said, Lin Moyu greets the senior. Shengxin also saluted, Shengxin greets the senior. Zan Junzi looked at Lin Moyu with surprise. You're not the heavenly formation Dao Lord? Lin Moyu replied, I only have some knowledge of formations. The current heavenly formation Dao Lord is someone else. Zan Junzi laughed. No matter. The marvel of formation Dao is just that the strongest formation master of the era isn't always the Dao Lord. Your formation mastery is probably already on par with mine in my prime. In fact, compared to today's heavenly formation Dao Lord, you may even surpass him. Lin Moyu quickly said, Senior flatters me. I was just lucky. Zan Junzi laughed again. You must be curious why we fought to the death here back then. Were we guarding something? Lin Moyu nodded. Yes, please enlighten us, Senior. He had spent so long searching for the answer, but perhaps Zan Junzi could explain it more directly. Zhang Junzi said, the situation back then was special. In that battle, we faced not only Dao wild beasts, but also heaven and earth spirit demons. Among the wild beasts, there were 3 beast emperors. Beast emperors. Shengxin drew a sharp breath, her expression grave. She had seen the power of beast emperors before, beings on par with Eternals. While not vastly stronger in raw power, they had 2 despair-inducing traits. First, their pollution was so potent it could corrupt even great Dao lords. In the Great Riot, some Dao lords were polluted, their cultivation crippled, and forced to reincarnate or lose their status. Second, they were nearly immortal. No matter how hard you hit them, they wouldn't die. At best, you could only injure them slightly. In the Great Riot, just one beast emperor nearly broke the Dao lords. But Zhang Junzi and his peers had faced 3. Were there no Eternals to block the 3 beast emperors? Lin Moyu asked.